I
Oh,
always do that. I always do that, Nikola. Don't feel bad about it. I still do it after 2 years of streaming.
yeah.
Welcome everybody to the show, and I'm always happy to be here, Nikola, on your channel.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me do this. When first time a pupil fails, then they get to take the exam. Next time, usually
Yes.
actually in August. So let me try to do this again. Hi guys, welcome to Nikola Learns Chess with International Master Anna Rudolf. The legend is here with us. Hello Anna, welcome to my channel, and hey Lila, thank you for joining the stream. It's good to see you. And just a quick shout out to Lila and a quick program announcement. Lila and I, in about 13 hours, have scheduled sub battle. So please join us on her
Amazing.
channel, and we're gonna see if Nicholas Notorious can ever win a single match.
I since you phrased it that way, I'm afraid to ask about the sub battles with Maria. Um, did you have to impersonate a certain uh, chess grandmaster, former world champion?
I am not yet ready, both mentally and impersonally, to do that. I was about to say, please don't remind everybody about it. I'm kind of
Sorry, I didn't
hoping to
say
dodge that, but
it. I'm
no,
sorry.
I'm actually not ready. And I was actually supposed to come in. Hey, Amadeus Burrito. Hey, Bunkenator. Hi, guys. Well, thank you for joining the stream. Yeah, I'm actually ready to do, but here is a real one of the real reason it has happened yet. A big part of my impersonation will involve hair,
Oh.
and I don't have any hair, so I am waiting for a certain, wig to arrive, so I can do that. So that's one of the holdups. But yeah, no, I'll definitely do that, and I think we are going to probably arrange for it that the Alexandra will be present when this happens. So, and I
That
genuinely
sounds
look,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. And for the record, I know Alexandra and Anna have been having a very successful series of sub battles that are basically now suspended because Alexandra cannot take losing anymore.
Oh, wait, then I'm confusing. Will you need to then impersonate Alexandra Kostenjuk or
Correct,
Alexandra
Alexandra
Botes?
Kostin. Oh, Alexandra Botes will
Okay.
be. Oh, no, no. You know what? One thing that I need to learn as a streamer is to not offer anything, any content to anyone, because next thing I know, I'm going to have to impersonate Alexandra Botes. Uh, so no, I'm not. No, it's Alexandra Kostyanyuk. So
Yeah, that's how I remembered. That's how I remembered. I
yes.
was just thinking that actually for the hairstyle, if you have the wig, I think you're ready for both.
Okay, someone clip this.
I'm sorry, out of context. It's gonna be a great impersonation. I can't wait to see your acting skills, Nikola, and what
That's
character
fine.
traits of Alexandra Kostenjuk in this case will you highlight in your
Yeah.
parody?
I actually cheated a little bit and I asked, hey, Ulon, it's good to see you. I actually cheated a little bit and asked Danya to impersonate Alexandra. Hey, Hedgehog
Oh,
1963, welcome to the stream. And hello, Hoff Believer. Yes, and incidentally, for the record, hey, Frankie Boy 078, thank you for the follow. That's very greatly appreciated. You are probably the best impersonator of all streamers on Twitch as far as the chess community is concerned. Your
you think
impersonation,
so?
yes,
Well, that's very kind of you, Nicola, because I don't think I have the proper acting skills. I just try.
I would disagree, but
Thank you very much. That's very kind.
I mean, you have several personas already. You have a Gothana, you have you have yourself Anna. I remember a pirate Anna. I remember a rocker Anna. And I'm so you have when it comes to our community, you are well ahead of anybody else.
Thank you so much. Some may consider it as a pro, others might think I'm just going crazy here. Multiple personalities.
Yeah. All right. And your impersonation of Alexandra is actually famous, and but what's my favorite your impersonation of yours?
Which one?
Eric Hansen.
Oh, thank you. I'm proud of that one, actually. I think
Yeah,
that one turned out well, except
yeah.
for that I didn't want to break the chair of Alex because, like, I was at her place, so it would have been a bit too much.
It was a sacrifice in a good cause. If the chair, and let me put it this way, I'm quite sure there would be found sponsors to replace that chair if that happened. But anyway, all right.
Next time I will go all in that case.
Oh, so you're telling me that wasn't all in? Oh God, okay.
I broke the headphones and I was stomping on the floor like crazy while her
uh,
flatmates were going just like it was too late to make any noise, and I just went all in on the performance. We had to apologize the next morning like a lot.
I remember actually that was an impressive performance. All
Thank
right.
you so much.
No, thank you. All right, guys. Oh, Frankie boy, thank you. That's greatly appreciated. Squarely, my friend, thank you for joining us. All right, so I think I have to admit that I was watching Anna's stream an hour ago, and she was saying that I get ready to be put under severe test in terms of sweating and difficulty. So I have to admit that I'm partially scared, partially looking for what she has in mind here. So let's
If
let's
you're
start.
ready,
I'm as ready as
then
I'm ever gonna be.
this is going to be the same opening that we looked
Okay.
at in the first session because I prepared the two together. I always like to have more material than necessary in case we finish with the game earlier. So I was thinking that we may not have time for this, but it's still a really pretty game.
Okay.
Less, somewhat less difficult than the first one we looked at, I think, but there will
Okay.
be still couple of tricky moments and critical questions. So,
Okay.
the opening, if some of the viewers were not here the previous Wednesday, could you sum up what this opening is with H3?
Okay, so basically, this is Knight of Sicilian, which characterized by the move A6. H3 is actually one of my favorite responses to Knight of Sicilian, and the name of the opening is Adam's Attack. Basically, White's plan is to push, and I'm going to try starting drawing the arrows, push h3 and then g4, put the bishop on g2, and then proceed accordingly. Normally, you put the bishop here, and then you can either castle king side or queen side. Possibilities are queen d2 and also f4. And what basically happens is that you have White has a pretty powerful attack. It's kind of going all in attack, which so I like. Hey, Smash Time Fools, thank you. And thank you, Kyomaster, for the follow. Welcome to the stream. And thank you, Leon King 123. Thank you. Yeah, that's basically one sentence summary.
I think that's a very good summary, and it also is an opening choice. I think that you have picked very well your openings. The more I look at your games and the openings you play, I think this is very well chosen against the Neither. And for today, I have another game too that's the line you play against the Karakan. And I was thinking to myself when I was looking at those positions that this is so fitting to your attacking style. So if we have the
Yeah.
time for a second game, the second one will be about the advanced variation of the Karakan and the position you played against Anamaya.
Okay.
So in this game, after h3, black played the line with e5. You let me know until which moment it's the same because I don't exactly know which lines you play in each position. So if this is still something that could appear in your game or it's already not.
This has already appeared in my game, and as a matter of fact, this is a line that Cecile Ocerno played against me on 3 or 4 occasions. I'm very familiar with this, and this is actually h5, e5, and h5 are considered challenging for Adam's attack. I played this.
Awesome. And until this moment, it's exactly how you play, including knight d5 here. Or do you
Yes.
play something different? Oh,
Yes.
okay. I'm gonna be playing out these moves, and you just let me know if there's anything that deviates from what you would play. I think this is still theory,
It's
not
Fury,
that
yes.
not that I'm an expert, but I looked into it a little bit, and we're gonna reach soon the critical position.
Okay. One challenge I have in Adam's attack is that it's very important to time that jump on the knight on d5 at the exact right moment.
Mm-hmm.
But this is exactly when you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Also, there is a choice between taking with a queen versus taking with a pawn.
Do you have a preference?
I I think in this position I would take with a queen.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you, Psils. Oh yes, one more program announcement. I'm not doing this during my Anna stream, but after a lot of audience requests, they're starting tomorrow. I am gonna have about 10 different hats that people can request which hat I want to wear. And did we lose
That's
the
amazing. I'm a
did we
huge
lose the
fan of
camera?
hats. I think you know that I'm a huge fan of hats. So I'm gonna be watching. I'm gonna be watching and checking on that hat collection.
Yes. And I'm looking here and I'm wondering, is the camera frozen?
Oh, it appears to be frozen right now.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's see what's happening here. I'm gonna close this. I have here a Zoom and it's not frozen, but it's frozen in Streamlabs. Okay, that's always a joy and pleasure.
Maybe if you just click on the source where it's picking it up from on
Yeah,
Streamlabs,
that's what I'm
um,
doing.
and it will
Let's
just
see.
update it. It can be a pain with Streamlabs sometimes.
Yes, it is. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. It's always a joy when this happens, isn't it? And I actually don't see us moving in the window, so I'm gonna just redo this. Nope, camera is definitely frozen. Hey, Chesbra, thank you from the host. That's very nice of you. You are coming at the moment when we're having slight technical difficulties. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna restore the camera. Just bear with me for a second.
Sure.
I apologize.
So from tomorrow on every stream, the viewers can be requesting different hats.
Correct.
That sounds like an amazing idea. I've never thought of it, and I'm a huge hat fan myself. But I'm learning from you that this is a great streamer idea. So what's the system for requesting? Is there a certain way in which they need to request the hat?
Yeah, we are using a channel points, and we are gonna have a bunch of hats, and we're gonna, figure that one out. All right, guys, let me just bear with me while I fix this. And basically, there will be about 10 different hats, and we're gonna try to. Let's see here. All right, add a new source. Let's see, Zoom meeting. And no, I cannot. There is no way for me to. The camera is acting up. All right, I apologize, Anna.
No worries, no worries. I'm just gonna keep an eye on the chat in the meantime and say hi to Alan Media, Hedgehog, Sales, Bunkinator, Smash Time Fools. How's everyone doing today? And are you guys ready to work? Because the exercises will be not only for Nikola but also for you guys. So make sure to turn that exercise mode on your chess brains, because today it's gonna be a 3-hour intensive workout for each and every one of those lovely brains. Joe, how are you doing today? Redeem Fedora. I would like to use that command too, Bunkinator. I'm gonna move the board to the current position. So f4, knight d7, b3 is where we left it, and we're gonna be back with this position and soon some of the critical decisions. This is another game between two grandmasters.
Okay. Mhm.
Let me know if I can help you in any ways, Nikola.
Yeah, I'm here, and I think we're gonna have to reconnect the Zoom meeting real quick. So
Okay, sure.
yeah. So sorry, guys, just a little bit. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us, and sorry about um, slightly annoying. All right. So and I'm gonna disconnect.
Sure, and I will join you again on the same Zoom
Yes,
meeting
I'm
or
gonna
another
stop
one.
video for me, and
Okay.
I'm gonna let's see, I'm gonna remove, and then I'm gonna stop the video. Okay. Hi guys, sorry about that. I guess this is annoying. Okay. Okay. You
I hope that we are back. Let me know
looks like
if it's
we,
working
yeah,
now.
we are. They can see us. I just need to adjust
Awesome.
the thing. So
Welcome back, everybody.
we're
We've been
30
here.
seconds away from being up and running. So just bear with me, guys. Sorry about that. So who played this game?
This is a game between Jure Boršak from the Olympic team of Slovenia against Yannick Pelletier from the Olympic team of Switzerland. And it was actually played at a team event, the European Team Championship in Batumi last year. So another recent game between two grandmasters. I try to choose games that are played by strong players, but are not that known so that no one really recognizes them and will know the moves out of memory. That's always how I try to choose, even if it was a game of Magnus or Fabiano, Hikaru. I try to find games that they may have played at a Blitz event, an online event, rapid event, but also like nowadays, even those are highly analyzed. But I try to choose games that are not the most annotated games out there so that people actually need to work through them. And that was the base of my chess course too on Chessable, to choose games that are not the most well known.
Okay. And for that Chessable course, I am gonna just give a little shout out in my chat. I love the course. It's really, 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 really good, and I've learned a lot from it. So I highly recommend you guys just check it out, please.
Thank you so much, Nikola.
Oops.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, just let me
Oh,
finish
today
this.
I'm Nikola and you are Anna.
Well, we are exchanging.
I know. I'm just trying to take over your channel, Nikola. That has been
Please,
my plan.
let me put it this way. I for one wouldn't object if you were to take over the channel. All right. So okay, this is not bad. And let me just do one more thing here. Okay. Hey, Semislav44, thank you for following. Sorry, we ended up having a small difficulties with OBS. What else is new? Everybody who has streamed know how that works. So anyway, all right. So looks like we are in good shape here. And here is the board. All right. So cameras work, everything works. We're back in action. If I hope I didn't miss anything significant in terms of the chat. If I have, I apologize, guys. Thank you for the follow from Jimmy Blibla, and hey Eric, hey Neil, thank you, and thank you Chesbra for the follow. Okay, going back to the game. You know, Queen, Bishop A3. I think this is still theory, actually.
Yeah, and in here Bishop E6. Sorry, I was also so focused on whether our camera is working as such as
Yeah,
skip
I
the
know.
move
Sorry,
here
my
while I
apologies
was
there.
talking. No, not your fault. I'm also just, I know myself that I'm bad at multitasking, and I realize now that I skipped this very important move, which is the theoretical line. Uh, Developing the bishop with a tempo. So this is all familiar to you, I believe, Nikola.
Yes.
Just let me know until which moment it is something that you also have studied and play.
yeah, this is now starting to be a little bit out of theory now for me.
Mm-hmm. So after f4, I'm guessing this is all logical for the reason that white often castles queenside, and you will want to expand on the king side and attack in the center too. The black king is still in the middle of the board.
Correct.
After knight d7, white played b3, which takes away the one remaining square of the bishop. So we now have a one-move threat. It was spotted by black. I don't know how. It's not like he's a 2600 grandmaster. Yannick Pelletier is a very strong grandmaster, obviously, and the chess author himself. After knight f6, now the bishop has space in case we push f5. White castled queenside.
Okay, which is actually a quite brave decision, but yes, I see that.
I was gonna ask you if you also would
I
play
have done
this
it.
way.
I have done it plenty of times. Incidentally, I know Yannick Pelletier. At least I've seen him. He has been streaming recently or appearing as a guest in Elizabeth Pacht's channel. So yes.
Yes.
So he is black.
Yeah, he's playing with the black pieces, and it's not his favorite game. I think not the one he wants to remember.
Okay.
He played b4 here. He's a friend of mine, and he actually what did I do? But he invited me to the tournament in Biel a couple of years ago, which gave me my final international master norm. So I have very fond memories of the tournaments he organizes, and where I was an invited player that gave me my final norm and the international master title. But in this game, unfortunately, he's on the suffering side, and b4 itself may not be the best move. Not that it. I think these positions for black, I really think they are very challenging, but b4 doesn't seem to be the most accurate. How would you react here?
What would I play instead of b4? Or
You
how?
can also tell us what would you play instead of b4 if you want to think of this as black. What would be your way to continue? I don't think it's an easy position. Um, not that not that I am an expert of the Sicilians or anything, but b4 seems to be inaccurate, at least from what I analyzed with the engines earlier.
Okay. Pozdrav Dunja, thank you, and hey, Dirk, it's good to see you here. Sorry if I missed you earlier. Okay, so I'm gonna say what I'm usually mostly worried about here is that there is an attack on along the C file here. That's one possible counterplay. The purpose of the move b4, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about it, is that he is hoping to play a5 and generates threats. The problem with move a5 b4 is that this bishop on a3 loses its radius. In other words, it's kind of, it's potential check on a3, which can be quite annoying. So if the question is what I would play here as black, okay, let me think for a second. Okay, hey, Famous Wizard, thank you for the song request, but we don't really play music during these. Very honestly, it's what Anna throws at me during these streams is tough as it is without music. So I'm gonna figure out a way to refund your channel points, or I'm more than happy to do that on our next stream. I actually have a stream in about 12 hours. So, and thank you for joining us. But okay, going back to the game. All right, so black can bite the bullet here and castle. All right, so
that's one of the options.
That's one of the options, and basically challenge white to. Thanks, Famous Wizard. That's very kind of you. And basically mate me. Basically tell to mate me. There is always a possibility of actually playing a5 here. With the hope of pushing a4 and so on. Dogmatic Dog, my USCF rating is based on exactly 2 games, and it's like 1597. As Daniel initially, I had a 24.95 score in Allometer, which both those scores are a little bit on the ridiculous side. I'm realistically somewhere between 1900 and 2000, so that would be realistic estimate. So a5 is another move. Let me think for a second. I mean, queen is actually very well placed as it is.
Mm-hmm.
None of the bishops has any effective scope, neither has knight. Knight can theoretically go to d7 then to c5 or b6, which is an option. I'm not sure it's a usable move in this position. Actually, let's make that a potential candidate move, though that plan is slow. And let's see. Breakthrough for d5 is premature. Rook d7 is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So all of those are options.
Yeah, I think you listed most of the good options here. I really do think this position is difficult for black. I don't know if this is the main variation, in a sense that does black have to enter this position, or did he have a couple of alternatives for this setup with h5? Would this be a position they cannot avoid as black?
Yeah, and as Captain Scarrow point out, we actually have an f5 issue.
Yeah, in case of rook d7, yes.
Or knight d7. But the thing here is that this is one of those. Adriana, thank you for the raid. That's very nice of you. Welcome, raiders. This is Nikola Learns Chess with the one and only legend, international master Anna Rudolf. This is a second installment in the regular feature on our channel, in which Anna is teaching me chess. So welcome, raiders. It's good to see you. Thank you, Adriana, for the raid. And let's give a shout out to Adriana, who is a great WGM from Bulgaria. That she's a neighboring country to Serbia, where I was born. So, and one of these
days, I played a couple of games against Adriana. I was trying to remember what was the result. I know we played a couple of years ago, at least once, if not twice. But she's a really strong player indeed, and now a streamer herself.
All right, so here is a shout out, and let me give a lady a diamond. Okay, thank you. All right. Yeah, so let's not lose that bishop just yet. Let's get rid of the option. Let's get rid of the knight d7 and the other options. In all honesty, in this position, I'm not. This is who mates whom first.
Yes.
Type of position, so I'm not sure material matters. Black always has an option of actually pushing the d5 pawn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure it's the right moment, but realistically, I think the right move for black here would be to castle.
I think you have a point that castling kingside, as scary as it looks, is got to be the move. And the other one you mentioned, that d5, depending on what's going on here in these concrete lines, could be something to calculate for sure, whether to play it or not. I analyzed it a little bit. It seems that white will keep the pawn, but there is at least some complexity to this position. I was looking at even options with e4 knight takes. It's a pawn down, and I think white's got
But
to be better here.
but this bishop on f, if it ever goes to f5, it becomes a monster.
Yes, so I think there's some potential
And then bishop
here
has this.
to at least mess up the position for that sacrifice pawn, or castle kingside, as you mentioned. They seem to be, to me, the two moves that make the most sense here.
Okay.
B4, as you said, um, possibly with the idea of pushing later a5, a4, but it has drawbacks such as closing the diagonal of this bishop in case after d5 we could have played bishop a3. And also, it seems to be a bit slow. So um, b4, I think, is inaccurate. And now we need to see how to react to this as white. So I'm going to ask once again, each and every time, your intuition. What would you play in a blitz or bullet game here as white? And then we think further.
Okay. Um, okay, let me think for actually, let me not think for a second. If this
Yes,
is a
don't think.
if this is a bullet game, I'm doing push and baby f5.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
that's would be the bullet move.
sure.
Basically asking the question of that particular. And hey, Joel Rubes, thank you for joining. That's very kind of you. Okay, so what are really the funny thing is it's not like white has that many options either.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure what this b4 actually achieved. If it's the goal, to get to a5 and push here. I'm not
Yeah,
sure if king goes to b1, how exactly white follows, black follows
yeah,
here.
yes.
I don't, and if queen go like a5, a4, that takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And white always has an option of a4 actually. If it's a b3 taking with a c pawn, and then by the time the battery gets there, this bishop is controlling a7. So by the time the rook comes to a file, that's like 5 moves. By that time,
Mm-hmm.
black is going to be mated.
Very true.
So I'm pushing f5.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And after the bishop moves, what would be your follow-up? So the after f5, bishop d7.
okay. I think position in which if I can push g4, if black
Mm-hmm.
takes, and then if these rooks, if we end up with a position in which this rook and this rook disappears off the board and this is open,
Mm-hmm.
that's a very appealing position for white.
Very true. So we can show for a moment what Nikola is saying, that
Yeah,
if the h file opens up and black has to, well, it's got to do something with that hanging rook on h8, our rook is about to give a very unpleasant check on the back rank. This seems to be an already winning position for white, and it's
yeah.
only just moved 20 after trading rooks on the h file.
Yes, that's all right. So follow-up is g4. And
Mm-hmm.
and very frankly, we can after g4, if takes, then, and if black doesn't take but pushes say h4,
Mm-hmm. To try to keep the position closed.
then I can push g5
Yes. So the knight's got to go
somewhere, and then thank you Handpens Live for the follow. Thank you Hatrox for the follow. And thank you Art Vega, my dear friend, for the 200 bits. That's very nice of you. Thank you. So here, what do we do here? Okay. What do we do here is we have an option of putting one of the rooks on f1.
Mm-hmm.
we have an option of pushing f6 immediately.
Mm-hmm.
We have an option to put, so I'm actually going to draw them. So g6 and stuff.
G6.
And yeah, okay.
Yes, those should be the main candidate moves in a position like this. That's very well spotted. The two pawn breaks, g6 or f6, or bringing the rook to the f5, and then counting on those pawn pushes. As for black, if we play, let's say, rook f1, what do you think would be a follow-up for black? Or is there anything that we need to be worried about slightly?
Well, the problem with rook f1 is that this pawn is hanging.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
With potential of a very interesting pin here.
Mm-hmm.
So we really cannot play rook f1 because we don't want to sacrifice this pawn, but that's a motive in the position. Interesting question is if we play g6, whether black can do bishop g5. I think the natural, the motive here is to push here, and even if we lose a pawn, nobody cares. And here are a couple of other motives. This pawn is endangered species. This rook is in an awkward position.
Very true.
We can play something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And and here is a question to be asked after we play, for example, this. What does black do? What's the best move for black? I'm actually going to focus on that move for a second, and I wish
Sure. So after f6, I believe we should consider mainly the capture.
Okay. But there is this. Black can also play this.
Mm-hmm. So f6, g takes f6, or bishop f8, the only two moves of black in that position, indeed.
Yes.
But if it was bishop f8, would you be scared of pushing f6? Like, is that a move that you think would change your mind?
Mm-hmm. No. So, no, and then black can even push g6 as a, white can push
very good
g6 yes. As a follow, and then whatever clearance this gets, you have this and mate here, and that's not good for black. Hey, Grandmaster Gowrie. Thank you for joining us. Let me just give a very quick shout out to Gowrie.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna quickly close the window. I forgot it's open and I'm getting a bit cold. I'll be back in a second.
Yes, so please give Gowrie a follow. He is a dear friend of mine. He's a great streamer. He's a great coach. And I'm very happy to see him here. And let's give Mr. Gowrie a diamond. And all right, so let me think for a second. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think bishop f8 is gonna cut it. It's only gonna cut it if white basically plays along and takes on g7. Which even then that's a scary move. So I think the critical move is to take.
Indeed. So f6, g takes f6 is what we are calculating now.
Yeah. Okay. And if okay. Well, it's to our advantage to open the position, I think. So let me think for a second. Mm-hmm. So after that, after black takes, the options are to take or to push. And now we can actually deploy the rook here. But I think the natural move is to just take.
Take and then bring a rook to the f5.
Yeah. And then, you think black takes with a knight here, or? Well, if it takes with a bishop, then taking on d6 is kind of crushing.
Yes, that's the problem.
This
Because
is
if black had the time to play bishop g5 and try to trade, but he doesn't get there, d6 will fall immediately. You are right.
so this is the critical move. And then we have this. Okay. And what exactly can black do here? All right, so let me think about this position for a second.
Sure.
This bishop is crucial to prevent any thoughts of d5. But right here, it's really not doing much. It's kind of obstructing the g file.
Yeah, and it also raises the question if the open file can be used by black too, since you've pointed out that bishop. So we need to be looking at options for black too on the open file.
This knight here is basically dominated by black pawns. Okay. But bringing that knight into some sort of into action is not a fast process.
Yeah, very true. It's gonna take quite a few moves of a maneuver to bring it somewhere more useful. As you have pointed out correctly, both the knight on e2 and the g2 bishop are not our best minor pieces for how they are right now.
And this is actually one of those challenging positions in which it's not immediately obvious how to improve the position, or at least long term. So what can we do? We can go and play this. Okay.
So after rook hf1, black is able to create a threat. We can look at moves like queen a5 or rook g8, bishop c6 to put pressure on the pawn.
Correct. Well, I'm not terribly worried about queen a5 because after king b1, it's kind of, there is really not that much of a follow-up.
That is true.
So that doesn't really worry me. This is actually more annoying because it's interesting how to defend this. Another option is to play this because, very frankly, black is not castling.
Yes. I don't know how you guessed, Nikola, that black may not want to castle kingside.
Yes.
What's the reason?
Well, the open G file, knight, queen on H5, this bishop going there. I have a reputation of castling into danger, but I wouldn't castle here. So
it's over the limit of even the danger you are ready to take on.
Yes, yeah, I'm actually gonna share with you a game I played with Chelsea Monica in which I castled into absolute impossible position once. So, but no, I won't castle here. All right, so here is a real question for me, and I'm asking aloud. I'm not expecting an answer. What's my plan here? plan number one is to see if I can double the rooks on the f file and play bishop g5 and then exert a pressure on black along the f file. Okay. I don't see any black's counterplay. My king is white king appears to be fairly safe. So having said that, oh, thank you for the shout out, Hedgehog.
Thank you so much, Hedgehog.
So basically, candidate move one is number one. Candidate move number two is this. And if black plays bishop c6, I mean, we can even play something along the lines of queen d3, but then black has bishop b5, which is annoying. Or we can just forgo that pawn and keep adding pressure. Because a position in which he takes with the knight, and I take, and then I capture on f7 with a doubled rook is crushing. So if you're asking me what I'm playing here, he can't take the knight here. This knight is not moving. So I'm probably playing, I'm probably playing rook f2. And
so that would be your plan, because we've just moved rook h f1, and your plan would be to double rooks and then bishop g5.
Correct.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable plan. The question is if this tempo that now black has, can black use it for a move like bishop c6 to put pressure on the e4 pawn, and then how we deal with that hanging pawn. We already sacrificed the pawn, but maybe a second one, especially if it's the e4 pawn, could be a bit pricey.
No, so that's one option, and I haven't really committed yet.
And your other option was, do you remember the
other option is to play bishop g5
instead of rook f1?
Instead of rook f2.
I mean, so after knight takes f6. What I'm saying is that we are talking about the plans. I thought you were saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's black's move now.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay. You know what they say when you are playing chess? It makes sense to look at the board a couple of times. All right. So what we're basically saying here is that this plan is too slow.
Could be slow, yes. Unfortunately. Okay. And also, you pointed out that bishop c6 could be annoying, because then we need to deal with the defense of the e4 pawn. Rook g8 is a possibility.
Yeah.
It is something that we had to calculate, because this is a very straightforward pawn break. And your other candidate moves, remembering that moment when we looked at f6. So let's go back to this moment, because this wasn't the only move that you mentioned.
That is correct. The other move was to play g6 here.
Let's see what position arises from that.
Which is actually a better move, I think. So I'm actually gonna... Hey, Julian, it's good to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining the stream. Thank you. So basically, the advantage of g6 here is that black has to take, and then we take again. I don't see a better move, and then the knight has to go back. The fact that G file is closed actually favors white. Okay, we still have a problem with this knight. And here is, and here, this is actually much easier position to play, because this is now an obvious move. And the horrible threat here is to take, and then play queen d5 with fork and mate.
Yeah, that's a very, very major threat.
Yes.
It would win the game on the spot. That black has to deal with this threat immediately. There's just no avoiding of it. So either by defending the rook or covering the d5 square, black has to
Yeah.
deal with this idea.
Okay. All right. So, what does the black play here?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he can. The same plan still applies, which is bishop c6.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Paja 2017. Thank you for the follow. That's very greatly appreciated. All right. So, do you mind if I just move this?
Yeah, of course you
I,
can. Yes.
I honestly
Mm-hmm.
don't see another move in this position for black.
Yes, that's an active move and deals with the threat, so it should be the one to consider.
Yeah. I mean, anything else, it would be knight g8. Hey, Saf874, thank you for the follow. That's very greatly appreciated. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so... All right, so basically, this is still a threat. I don't think we really have time to play this. Right? So if I'm... Hey, Dogmatic Dog, thank you for the follow. All right, so candidate move is to take.
Mm-hmm.
And if bishop takes, then I can even take on d6. And, you know, I'm pretty sure that black will be busted with the rooks there and this pawn here and so on. And if the pawn takes...
So we are talking about this position. I'm just curious, out of your attacking style, would you want to take? I know you like endgames too, but if you were to choose between that position, so winning the pawn and playing an endgame, or if there was any other idea that comes to your mind to keep the position with the queens on the board, what would you pick here?
Good question.
Yes. And we need to come up with an alternative. So black also has a threat, and this one is a very annoying one.
Yes.
If we don't take on d6. So what would be an alternative? Queen takes d6, and if there's anything else that you would consider.
Yep. I see. Let me think for a second. Hey, Borovnica. Dobrodošao. And, okay. How can we deal with bishop g5 threat? I presume the solution to that question is not to move the king away.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So your move would be?
Well, let me put it this way. Bullet move would be just to take on d6 and
yes,
and have an extra pawn in an endgame.
Yes, that's very practical thinking. Yes.
And after, I don't see that black has anything but to exchange the queens.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, he has a bishop pair, but I have a pretty annoying rook that's soon going to be doubled. So after takes bishop d5, I can even play something like bishop f3, put the rook on d1, and I am probably winning. And the king is still endangered. I can get this bishop to g4, and it's... I mean, I'm pretty sure white would be winning this endgame, but the question here is, how can we do this without switching to an endgame? So let me think for a second. That's actually a very good question. Let me... hey, Paja, why ask David Navarra? David Navarra is actually a very great grandmaster, but I don't think he's here. So And I'm not sure I would want to ask him. Well, all right. So what am I can't move the king. I can move the king, but that doesn't achieve anything. I can move my queen.
Why do you? I'm curious the thinking behind outruling the king move. So you say you cannot move the king because it doesn't achieve anything for your attack or for parrying the threat.
Well, I guess I think I have a bias towards, let's put it this way, a more aggressive continuation.
I see. So slow moves like
Well, I
a
can play king b.
prophylactic
I can play
move.
king b2.
Uh huh. Yeah, king b2 or king b1 to step out of bishop g5.
Yeah, I can actually play king b2, and that actually has advantage that that it's going to facilitate c4 in some potential endgame.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if we are looking for a move that's not queen d6 and continues this is actually, I think, a reasonable move. Move along the lines of queen d3 doesn't do much, and I don't see a way to defend bishop g5 otherwise.
Yes.
Queen b2 has one disadvantage, though.
What is it?
And the disadvantage is that something along the lines of black plays d5, and then
the long diagonal.
And then here, and then I am kind of, I have, he has, if I take, he pushes e4, queen a5, and if he brings queen a3, that's actually a little bit of a threat.
Mm-hmm. So then, do you prefer the king on b2 or b1?
So I would play king b1, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because that
could be safer.
That's safer, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think those are I don't see any other realistic option in this position.
Mm-hmm. Yes, those are the three moves to consider: king to b2, king to b1, or capturing on d6. Yeah, I'm gonna show you something crazy because
Okay.
everything you
said. So what am I missing?
You don't miss anything. Everything you have mentioned makes perfect sense, and possibly after you have compared the king on b2 and b1, possibly the best move here is king b1. And if black really insists on us taking on d6, then we will take. If bishop g5, for instance, which definitely shouldn't be black's move, but it's not like we want to avoid the endgame forever. We
Sure.
would take that pawn after the king has stepped away. But here, the bishop is hanging. Rook e6 is a threat to the e5 pawn is in trouble. So here, this would be even worse if black really wants to force that move.
Agreed.
So what's crazy, I think, about this position, because I was looking at it briefly and I couldn't believe it, because I think queen takes d6 is such a natural move. But after rook c7, which is just a move that protects the bishop, this position, do you want to know the rough evaluation of the engine for this position? What would be your guess?
I have an extra pawn. I have a rook on d6.
Yes.
I don't see an immediate. Am I missing something obvious?
No, there's nothing concrete. So I find it crazy because there's nothing concrete, and the evaluation surprised me.
-0.20.
Minus 0.20, you're saying?
Yeah.
Actually, it's minus 120.
Okay, then
I couldn't believe it.
Okay.
So I wanted to reach this position because when I was analyzing it, I had the same thinking. A pawn up in an endgame, the rook is nice on d6. So now let's try to figure out why is it that the engine evaluation itself doesn't matter that much, but it's shocking that with a pawn down, the engine would give quite an advantage to black. So let's try to understand what are the features in this position that are not really favoring white, even though white is a pawn up.
Okay. And just wanted to give you a shout out to my dear friend Lali. Hi, Lali. It's good to see you here. Thank you. I know this is very late for you. It's midnight, so thank you for joining us. So that's very greatly appreciated. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, black has a bishop pair.
Mm-hmm.
this knight is stupid.
Yes.
This pawn is weak.
Yes.
All these pawns are a little bit pickled.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see. What is... It's minus 120.
Yes. Maybe a bit less, but above -1,
Above
which
minus
surprised
one.
me a lot.
Sure. Yeah, as Simply Swindling mentioned, the white bishop is... Yeah, and the manslide is saying white is missing dark side control all too. But this is basically a tall pawn.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what the computer is thinking is that black can play something. I'm gonna write. Oh, God.
Yeah, you can make moves or ideas.
And I'm just gonna
arrows.
draw this, and then push this to a4, and he's looking into some sort of a attack along the a file.
Mm-hmm.
That's one.
Yes, that's one of the possibilities.
That's one of the possibilities. And this the question then becomes, what does white do with this knight?
Yeah, that's one of the main questions, unfortunately, for white.
Yeah, and white can play something like this, which is slightly less the optimal, because white will play this and rook f8, and it's kind of getting tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was under the impression that this is relatively easily won for white, so I guess I stand corrected. But here is, let me think for a white for a millisecond.
Of course, because I'm telling you, it shocked me that it's such a natural thing to take the pawn, and the rook on d6 looks great. Like,
okay.
I thought maybe black has compensation, but not that black has an advantage.
All right, so I played this.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what does black do? If he takes, I have solved the problem of developing my knight.
True.
The fact that he cannot really utilize this particular pin anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't take it, then this is a passed pawn.
Yes.
So if I'm white, this is probably the move I would play to rook c7.
And I think it's one of the strongest moves for white, and very valid point that now we have a protected passed pawn, and the capture, as you said, would solve the knight situation. The thing is, what I was looking at with the engine, even these positions, it just says moves like rook f8. Like there's nothing really going on at the moment concrete, but I think the engine is trying to build up on some kind of a potential attack with bishop g5, rook f2. So it starts to be a little annoying.
Okay, I play rook f1,
Mm-hmm.
and that blocks this forever.
Yes.
I can then start working on getting the white bishop to g4, at which point it becomes actually a useful piece.
Yeah, let's calculate that line, because it can become very concrete. Rook f1, let's do it first blindfold. So rook f1, okay. And let's see if bishop g5, what happens in those positions with the multiple trades.
Okay, so I am taking, so bishop g5, right?
Yeah.
The problem is I'm losing the e4 pawn in that situation, right?
Yeah, that's the issue. So if we were to
can
block, mm-hmm.
So I can't play really rook f1.
Yeah,
but
it would be great if we could play rook f1 and the e4 pawn would be well protected, but the two doesn't add up, unfortunately, because of what you said.
Okay, I can do two things. So basically I cannot really challenge this. This bishop is stuck to defending this particular pawn. What can I do? And me getting the king out of check is probably too slow. You know what? I can say, okay, this knight, rook on d6 is nice, but it's not really doing anything there.
Yeah.
I can just go back.
Uh-huh.
And then bishop g5. Yeah, I'm still short the tempo.
Yes, because rook f2 is coming.
And then rook f2 is really annoying. All right, so what do I play in this position? Yeah, I see what the problem is.
But it was very shocking to me when I saw this first, because it doesn't look like black should have anything in particular. But it's true that because we have given up the dark squared bishop, now we have problems with all those, the check on g5 or bishop e7 with the tempo, the f file open, and the e4 pawn is always depending on the g2 bishop, plus the e2 knight and the g2 bishop are really clumsy pieces in this position.
Apologies, this is my private phone that's ringing. It's safe.
Sure.
Just ignore it. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so what do we do here? We really don't want that a4 pawn to go bye-bye.
Yeah, e4 it would be a really important pawn to keep. We can also take a look at, once again, this comes after taking on d6, rook c7. So we have this one moment that we can use. So the rook is still not on f8. There's no concrete threat. And even like this, the engine likes this position for black, which is what surprised me the most, that we have a tempo. Now it's white to move. There's no concrete threat, and still it's not an easy position for white.
Okay, well, after we just discussed, we can play this. Too bad the c4 really looked like a very appealing move.
Yes. So if we had just one more tempo to have the rook on f1 and play c4, then it would be perfect.
Yeah, but we don't, sadly. All right, so we can play rook f1.
Uh-huh. So if rook f1, let's now also think of this position from black's perspective. So you have prevented one of the ideas that we had for black. How do you think black would follow?
Black can continue to be annoying.
Uh-huh.
And here is the real problem. Yeah, this is genuinely annoying, actually. And I'm just going to show you what I'm thinking. All right, so we need to defend this knight, right?
Yeah.
That right really has we can go here, but then there is a possibility for this.
You mean after bishop b5, you're looking at
I cannot move the knight. I need to, because it's pinned.
Yes.
So I need to. All right, so I can play rook f2, but then there is a bishop d3, and then this pawn is threatened. And this check is still fairly annoying.
So bishop b5, rook f2, and then
bishop d3.
You sure?
Sorry, I'm brain dead. No, I can't play bishop d3. That's fine.
Yeah, bishop b5 is still, of course, one of the main moves to look at for black, because it's very forcing the pin, forcing rook f2.
Yeah.
How would you follow up in that moment? What moves would you consider here for black?
Well, the simple plan is... Hey, Danny, my friend. Thank you. I'm doing well and hope you're well too. Yes, Julian, this is from a game. Actually, it was played by one of the Slovenian players, and Yannick Pelletier, whom you guys may have seen on a couple of streams here. He was a guest on Elizabeth Pasha. All right, so I'm black here. I can play king e7, rook c8, exert pressure on this pawn, right?
Yeah, that would be one of the most natural ways to follow king e7 and rook c8. Another idea is if now we look at this f2 rook, that it can also lead to tactical motes if we were to play either rook f8 or even castle kingside. Let's remember that black is still castle if black wants to. Not sure if that's the best or not, but it's interesting how black on this is move 27 and black could still castle to threaten bishop g5 to win the rook. Of
Yeah.
course, white can prevent it by moving the king away, but there are options here for black, which clearly shows that there's activity and counterplay for the pawn that we have won.
All right. I would have gone blindly into this endgame, to be very
Me
frank
too,
with
me
you.
too, Nicola. I was shocked because of the fact that it's so natural to take that pawn on d6.
Okay. All
So
right. So that's not an option. Thank you, Anna.
but everything else you said, bishop takes, and king b1. This is a perfectly fine and should be a better position for white. As I
Yeah.
said, if black really forces matters, then we will take, because after bishop g5, this is a completely different story. And
All
other
right.
than that, black's king is in trouble. Black can't really castle kingside with this pawn on g6 already ready to attack. We only need the queen on h5 and it's mate. So like
Yeah.
that's extremely scary, I
All
think,
right.
even for those who like danger.
So, Fiona, thank you for the raid of Party of 126. Welcome. Thank you, Fiona. That's very greatly appreciated. Fiona is a dear friend of mine and a fellow streamer. She's also a fellow commentator, and I'm very happy to see her here. Thank you for the raid. Please, if you haven't already, please visit her channel. Her channel is one of the fixtures on Twitch chess. So thank you, Fiona. Thank you for joining us. So
Thank you so much for the raid, Fiona.
yeah,
Fiona has been one of my longtime friends. I think we were thinking with Fiona that we've known each other for more than half of our lifetime, which is crazy to think. We're getting old too, that we met each other when we were
yeah,
like 15 years old.
yeah. And I have a little thing to say is that I was talking to Anna about this. I was talking to Fiona with, and I have never heard any pair of great chess players be such full of praise for each other as Fiona and Anna. So thank you. Exactly,
Thank
Fiona.
you
Time
so much.
flies when you're having fun, and okay,
True.
this is water, but let's assume it's wine.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Fiona, for the raid.
Yeah,
Everyone joining us, this is a new show on Nicola's channel. It's called Nicola Learns Chess. This is the second episode. We started last Wednesday. It's every Wednesday on Nicola's channel. I'm teaching Nicola in a way that you guys should also try to be solving the exercises. So we are focusing on middle game positions with attacking and defensive ideas. And here currently we are looking at a position where white is a pawn, but surprisingly, there's so many ideas here for black, and black's pieces are so active that if anyone is better, it's actually black.
yes, and okay, well, live and learn. As Anna promised, she is making me think hard. My brain already hurts. So thank you, Anna.
I'm so sorry,
No, no,
Nicola.
thank you.
We
That's
are
how we
we are
learn.
nowhere near the end.
No, I know, I know.
Just
Okay.
kidding.
All right. So basically, judging to move into an endgame would basically is an erroneous judgment. All right. Good to know. Live and learn. I don't have any more cliches along the same topic. And I'm sorry. I just need to kill this phone.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
No worries at
Yes.
all. So king b1 in this position, and then it is black who has to deal with the situation where the king is still in the middle of the board. Castling kingside is way too dangerous. After pushing b4, as you said, moves like queen a5 aren't really a big deal because the pawn on a2 is protected, and black wishes that the a6 pawn wasn't on the board. Like, you just want to take that off of the board and play rook a7, but you can't. So black's attack is really difficult to imagine would go anywhere on the queen side, while we already have opened up the f file. The d6 pawn is vulnerable. Even if we didn't want to take it immediately, we may want to take it now. Who knows? Depends on what black plays here. But this is a better position for white. So g6 in that moment, I think, is the best. We were looking at f6 and
Agreed.
g6, and g6, I'm going to promote it here, is the best move. So
Okay.
this would have been one of the good ideas, f5 and g4. What Jura Borishek played in this game is similar, but he went immediately g4.
Okay.
So f5 is
And
good with
and
the
I
follow up.
apologize. I just
Yeah,
have to. There is a text I need to respond to. I'm sorry.
sure. I'm so sorry. I'm
No,
sorry I
no,
didn't
don't
let you talk.
apologize. I am the one who unfortunately has IRL eruptions. So just bear with me for a second.
Sure. I'm going to make the audience work in the meantime because we'll need to compare why the Slovenian Grandmaster is delaying f5. So f5 is still a possibility, but he decided to push g4 first. Why do you guys think that he preferred g4 immediately instead of f5 g4 if we are going for a pawn storm anyway? So what's the logic behind starting with this move and keeping the f pawn on f4 instead of f5 and g4? I'm curious about your thoughts. I'm gonna
I'm
get some
curious too. So he played.
g4 immediately, and the question is, it
Okay.
it could transpose later to similar positions, but why do you think he either will not play f5 or delay it? So what's the reason behind going for g4 first?
Okay.
And also, what's going on with the concrete lines? Because it looks like g4 is a pawn that's going to be hanging.
Correct. All right. So, well, the exchange of the pawns is still, not good for black for the reasons we discussed. In other
Yeah.
words, opening of the H file is going to lead to immediate problem for. Yeah, that I can't imagine that being any good for black because.
Yes.
So that's really not the critical variation, obviously.
So in that sense, it doesn't matter that the pawn on g4 will be hanging because there are bigger issues here for black with the opening
Correct.
of the h file.
Yeah, so taking on g4 is not the move that black would actually make.
Mm-hmm.
So what he maybe wants to do is to push g5 in this position with a pawn already still on f4.
Mm-hmm.
Because then he reserves an option of taking on e5. And okay, I'm thinking loud. I don't see.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm asking you to do, so to compare these two.
Okay. So if he takes on e5, black takes on e5, then what? Okay. The queen is well defended.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Opening of a d file is probably favoring white in the long run, but there is nothing immediately obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what is the continuation after, say, fe5, de5? Just hypothetically.
Yes.
And do I play g5 first?
Mm-hmm. Another question. So after g4, g5, f5, and f takes c5 are all options for white.
Correct. So what does the black play here? Well, what do we get is an open F file for us.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier than the other variation.
True.
Hey, Adriana, thank you. Thank you for spamming the emotes. All right, so let me think for a second. Takes. queen e1 is asking a question of the black queen, but then queen goes to a5. Then I have to play b1, king b1, and I'm not sure that's good for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he is hoping to play g5 in this position if black allows him, because if black takes on f4,
Mm-hmm.
I can take and then with either bishop or a knight, and then that's very favorable for me. And
Yes.
forget about that particular pawn on
Mm-hmm.
g4. Doesn't really matter.
Yes, very true. So it's not that white is aiming to take on e5, but he's not afraid of e takes f4 for what you mentioned.
Yeah.
And white can still always push f5 if he wants to, or g5, as you mentioned.
So what does the black play here again?
Yeah, good question. You already pointed out that this is just terrible for black. Funnily enough, there was a game for this position still in the database. So Pelletier didn't take on g4, but I found a game that reached this exact same position, and black took on g4. And black is a 2200
Okay.
player, and he took on g4. And I think he was completely lost after takes. He took on h1, rook takes h1. He took on g4, just going for it. White gave a check, and here in this position, we are looking for a really strong move that I think should be giving white a really nice advantage.
Okay. All right. Um, hmm.
Do you have any bullet or blitz moves? And then I let you think further.
Okay. All right. All right. So bullet move is what? Bullet move is f5.
Okay.
All right. So that's like an immediate move. Taking this doesn't seem to do much. Actually, no, it doesn't. Okay, I don't see an immediately crashing move. You can. I cannot. Can I play this? No. This knight. Hey, Herzer, thank you for the follow. Welcome to Nikola's chess with Anna Rudolf. Okay. Let me be systematic about this. So this is the bullet move.
Yes.
And then black can take.
Uh-huh.
Ah, okay, I see. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I see it now. It's bishop c5.
Beautiful. What's the
Yeah.
point of that move?
Well, this pawn is under immediate threat. We have removed the bishop from attack. And, if black takes, we take, there is a motive of taking this on f8. So it's an immediately crushing position. And this bishop is basically pinned in the next move. What exactly can black play to defend something like rook d7? We can take on b4. Or I'm sorry, we can do quite a lot of things, and yeah, we are easily winning here.
Yes, let's also show it on the board because it's such a pretty move. I think bishop to
Sure.
c5.
Yeah.
So as Nikola pointed out, if d takes c5, now the king is overloaded, so rook takes f8 wins on the spot. Beautiful tactical motive. And if not, in the game, rook d7 happened because now d6 is hanging. So any random move we can take on d6 because the f8 bishop is pinned. Either
Yeah.
bishop takes or queen takes. Both are possible because we are winning the bishop on f8. So the game continued with rook d7 and white. Now the bishop is hanging, but simply bishop takes b4 wins the pawn back, and black's position is just a nightmare. It's all these pieces, and f5 is an immediate threat indeed.
Yeah. And then you can even something like this, and it's curtains here.
Yeah, I don't know how black made it to move 40, but he got mated on move 40, so he made another
Okay.
20
Good.
moves before it was
Yeah.
completely over. But his opponent was a 2000 rated player, so 200 rating points below his opponent. But this position is completely lost. Yes. So h takes g4, even though it happened in the game, is not a good move.
No.
Black played queen a5. How do we react here? The immediate response of Nikola is
King b1.
king b1 indeed. Um, it's interesting that a4 is also a possibility, but it doesn't seem to be necessary to push that pawn because there's nothing going on the a file. So king b1 is natural. It also steps out of the c file, the dark squares. Very logical move.
Yep.
After king b1, black took on f4. This is another difficult decision to take, but I think it just black was possibly just looking at this pawn storm that's coming here, g5, and then f5, g6 that we were looking at, or um, it it's such a difficult position to play if black cannot castle. I think because it seems it's too late already to even try to castle.
Agreed. And I just noticed that, of course, Andriana saw bishop c5 immediately. So that's a WGM for you. Okay. Yeah, I have to say there is no way I'm seeing bishop c5 in a bullet game, but you know,
That's totally fine. I think.
but I would have seen it in a rapid game.
Yeah, I'm
So
sure of that. I'm sure of that.
hey, here's a lot. Good to see you. Thank you. So this was what was actually played.
Yes, in this moment, black took on
Ooh.
f4. I was just saying that this position, I think, already looks pretty bad for black. And as you said, e takes f4. Um, that should be just fine for white because we can bring our pieces. We can take back both with the knight or the bishop. But it just shows how sad this position is for black if e takes f4 is one of the best alternatives for black. Or
Yeah.
castle kingside. This this just looks wrong. It looks too slow
Ooh.
already. How would
Ouch.
you continue with castle kingside? Just briefly, how would you launch an attack?
There are multiple ways.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what I would do, I would choose whether if f5 first or g5 first make more sense.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so I mean, what I would do very frankly, and it almost doesn't matter the order. I'm just thinking loud. G5, f5, then f6, and then I can put the rooks here. Black has nothing on this side
Yeah.
in terms of counterplay. I probably don't want to take on e5 because it I'm don't want him to activate this rook.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping these two pawns where they are, so I would just push f5 and then g5 and f6, open up both of the files, and there is no way black is not mated fairly quickly.
Yeah. As you said, you would consider the move order, but the idea is g5, f5, f6, and mate. It's got to be made shortly. This, I think, is the decisive advantage with all those moves that you mentioned. Since it's a tempo, it might be the same, but it's very instructive that you would consider, of course, which one is the more accurate move to start with, whether it's f5 or g5, and then when you reach this position, f6, once g file opens up, it's got to be a crushing attack
Yeah,
for white. So very
yeah.
good.
Knight goes to g3, and
Sorry.
bishop goes on h6. Knight goes to g3. We put the rooks there, and we are. I mean, I'm just thinking loud. Probably
Yeah.
rook g1 first is probably better.
Mm-hmm.
But this
Yeah.
is easily winning. I mean,
Very true. Yes. So for that reason, Pelletier didn't castle, but took on f4. How would you take back on f4 in a bullet game, and then whether you would change your mind if you think longer? And possibly both are good. I'm just curious.
bullet I'm taking with a bishop because then the pawn on d6 is pickled.
Uh-huh.
Um, in a blitz game, thinking for 10 seconds. That that bishop on e6 is mildly annoying. I can probably take it, and then is it beneficial for me to take on e6? And I would still take with a bishop.
Mm-hmm. Both are strong. I was curious which one is your personal preference. So both have their reason, what they what they prepare for. As you said, it's good to put pressure on the d6 pawn. The bishop is nicely placed on f4. The knight
Yeah.
can still be activated through the d4 square, so we are not giving up on the knight either. In the game, Borishek preferred knight takes f4, but both of them were, I think, very
Okay.
similar in strength. Knight takes f4, black played rook to c7. And once again, the question is to Nikola, what's next? What do we do here if it's a bullet game? And how do you continue building up this position if you have more time to think?
Okay. All right. Well, if it's a bullet game and I'm short on time, I am playing. Let's see for a second. Well, I'm defeating the purpose. I'm gonna flag in a bullet game, which actually happens rather regularly.
Let's say it's
Um,
blitz,
uh,
but you are really low on time in this moment of the game.
yeah, no, it's fine. I'm jumping the knight on d5
Mm-hmm.
to hope to provoke um, some sort of opening. Hey, Barzolan, thank you for the subscription. That's very great. That's very greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Another option is to push g. Oh, we can't push g5. Actually, I can push g5 because he can't take with the queen, and
Mm-hmm.
that knight really has nowhere to go. I really don't want to play queen. The bishop on g4 is in danger, so I need to take care of that. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really in danger because he can't take with a pawn. I'm playing g5.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Both your bullet or blitz move, knight d5, that's a strong move. So it's perfectly fine to play that way. But once you started thinking more of this position and you realize that you can push g5 because black cannot take it for this discovered attack, knight takes e6 wins
yeah,
material and the game on the spot. So once you have realized that g5 is a possibility, it is the strongest
yeah,
continuation, pushes the knight away. You can later play knight d5 if you want to, and in general, we are just chasing a well-placed piece away. It's a good defender, and now it's going to be a clumsy setup. Knight d7 is the best square for black. How to continue now?
okay. Okay, push and baby. Let's bullet move is g6.
Uh-huh. That's a logical move.
Okay.
Let's see if you would consider anything else if you have more time to think. But g6 seems to be a very logical and aggressive way to continue.
Okay, I can follow up with this idea on knight on d5.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, the question about, that's actually a question that was always asked, and the standard answer to that question is tactics. And I'm not gonna. Obviously, the person here who is more competent to answer the question would be Anna, but I think for me, increasing ratings of 1630, I would just focus on tactics.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
I fully agree. And Cesarius, if you look at your own games and if you just focus on what moments you make mistakes or what type of mistakes you make and what type of mistakes your opponents make, but you may have not exploited them. Often the answer, well, most of the times it's going to be tactics. The answer, missed tactical motive from either side. So that can give you a lot of rating points if you focus on tactics. I agree with Nikola.
Yeah. Good question, Simply Swinding. Simply Swinding is saying that he would take on f6, e6 first, and then push g5.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the knight here is a stronger piece to be. I like to keep the knight on, and so I prefer. I prefer to push g5 first.
Yeah.
And keep the knight on the board, because that bishop on e6 is going to be once the knight is on d7, it's fairly clumsy.
Yeah, but it's a valid point that if white wants to take on e6, then this move order makes sense too. The question is, as you said, Nikola, like, will we want to take it or not? Because after knight d7, we would transpose to the same position if we take, so we can still choose that position.
Yeah, and that's a valid position. Then we play g5 here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we pushed, and I think it was knight f7, knight d7.
Yes, knight to d7.
Knight d7 was played, and what is the follow? This is the one candidate move.
Yeah.
This is the other.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not sure I wanna. This knight is a monster knight. I'm not sure I wanna exchange it.
Mm-hmm.
This bishop is a strong defender, but I think keeping it makes sense. This pawn is a little bit threatened. Obviously, it cannot, but it can be taken with a bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually can't, but okay. Actually, it can. Hold on a second. Takes, check, takes. Anyway, it's not really, I don't think it's critical for the position.
So you're calculating the line in which you would give up the g5 pawn. Can you show it on the board there?
Yeah, sure.
Case.
If we were to play, let's say we play rook f1, which is a possible move. Takes,
sure.
takes, and black is down a rook, so that can't be taken.
Mm-hmm.
But so rook f1 is another candidate move.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the logical continuation of the whole attacking thing is to play g6.
Mm-hmm.
Because what does this bishop do? I mean, how does the black counter, this bishop is basically a little bit on the pickled side.
Yes, we're trying to undermine the bishop.
Yeah. So, I'm playing g6. I think the bullet move and the blitz move is g6.
I think g6 is a strong continuation for what you mentioned.
Yeah. But there is a better one.
Yes.
Okay,
But you mentioned the better one too. Actually, it's such a good position. I like positions like this because there are multiple ways of continuing, and it depends on your personality as well and the way you like to play chess, which one you go for. So I think g6 is a very Nikola move because that's like going for it.
sure.
So I think that's a good move, and that also keeps the advantage. 95 maybe objectively is even stronger, but it's more of a strategic way of
Yeah.
handling the position. So you open up the e5, you have the pair of bishops. Strategically, this is a really appealing position for white. And then, oh, we have another raid.
Yes.
Like,
Hey, Anamaya, thank you for the rating us with a party of 74. Thank you, Anamaya. It's very greatly appreciated. Anamaya is a dear friend of mine. I watched her this afternoon playing some blindfold games, and she did really well. So thank you for the raid. It's good to see you. And let me make sure that the lady has a diamond.
hmm.
All right. Thanks, Anamaya. Thank you again. Thank you so much. And Anamaya is featured quite prominently in my best losses on Monday. So it's always good to see Anamaya here. Thank you for joining us.
Indeed, and if we get to see the second game that I prepared for today, it's based on the game that you played against Anna Maya in a Karakan
Ouch.
advanced
Okay.
variation. I chose it for the opening, but
For the
yes,
record,
I did analyze it.
for the record, I won the very first game in that Karakan variation against Anamaya. So that needs to be said. So thank you, Anamaya, for the raid, and thank you for joining us. And that's very greatly appreciated. For the raiders, if you haven't seen this, this is a weekly featured stream on Nikola Stoician channel. We have the legend herself, Anna Rudolf. It's called Nikola Learns Chess with International Master Anna Rudolf. And Anna Rudolf is a legendary trainer, and she's making my brain work as today. So anyway.
We are trying to make Nicola sweat as much as possible, and it also means that
Successful.
you guys should be sweating if you try to solve the same exercises
Yeah,
as he does. This is to improve
sure.
Nicola's chess, but also the viewers.
Okay. And for the record, it's if anybody in this channel who hasn't given a follow to Anamaya, please do so. Anamaya is a great streamer and a great member of the Chess on Twitch streamer community. So please do that. All right. So yeah, I understand that this is a strategically, to be frank, after oops. What's wrong with my mouse? After this, it's really the question of which position is more strategically won.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
To be so, yeah, okay.
And these are just two of the options. There are even more moves that have similar strength, and the game continuation we haven't even looked at yet. But G6, 95 are both appealing moves, and I think they are all good continuations. Knight takes e6 is also a strong continuation if we want to play that way. So those of you who are asking about the capture on e6, that's also perfectly fine if you follow up with the right continuation. And in case of the capture, I think the right continuation has to be h6, because the point would be to try to now attack the
Yeah,
e6 vulnerable pawn, and that will help us get to the king also.
yes, it's a positional move.
Yes. In the game, Borishek played h4 without capturing. I think this also makes sense, and it's also, as you said, it's a more positional approach. So 95 g6 were more from like let's go to a critical concrete
Yep.
lines, going for something immediate, and h4 strengthens the g5 pawn, prepares for bishop h3 in case we take on e6. This is a more positional approach, but there were a couple of good moves. This is one of them.
Yes. No. Absolutely. Okay.
In the game after h4, bishop g4 was played. So if white really wanted to, he could have taken, of course, on e6, but I think he was thinking the same way about this knight, that it's a very nice piece. It can always
Yeah.
jump to d5. Why trade it? After bishop g4, how to continue?
Okay.
Bullet move, and if you had more time, what would you play?
Hey Chelsea, welcome to the host. Chelsea Monica is a fellow streamer and a dear friend of mine. So please give her a follow if you already haven't. She is one of the strongest ladies on lady players on Twitch, and don't dare play her in Bullet. So yeah.
She's extremely strong, and I also want to give a shout out to Lil Bugaboo from my community. I'm glad that even my non-chess viewers are so supportive that they come over to Nikola's channel and they are here for this chess lesson too. So thank you
Yeah.
so much to my community as well for coming over.
Okay, so what is our long-term plan here? The knight d5 is very strong contender.
Yes.
Pushing e5 at some point is a long-term plan. So we need to move the rook because we don't really have any other option, and e2 is not an option. So where do we move the rook? And you know, real candidates are basically f1 and e1, and I don't see g1 being a real candidate. So if you're asking me what I'm playing in a bullet game, I'll probably... What do I want to play here? I may want to play g6, box in this bishop completely, and then play knight d5. I'm playing rook f1 probably. Hey Ulon, thank you so much for the gifted subs.
Thank you so much, Ulon and Hedgehog. Thank you always for being so supportive of our brand new chess show, of course. Yes. I really appreciate that.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, realistically, both moves are strong. Rook e1 looks at something along these lines. Because this is really annoying. But, you know, this pawn, it's not... Let me just think for a second. Black has an option of playing knight b6 to prevent this. You know, why not? I mean, rook e1 might be a stronger continuation. So, yeah, I mean, if I'm thinking, I'm probably playing rook e1.
And in a bullet game, you would have played rook f1.
Yeah.
Interesting. But both are strong.
Sure.
And the other move that you mentioned is also really strong. Remember, you mentioned either the rook moves. So rook e1 and rook f1 are both good. Rook g1, as you said, doesn't make that much sense because we have a pawn on g5, so it's not an ideal place. Either rook e1 or rook f1 or knight d5. Knight d5 was not played in the game, but it could have been really an exciting position. So I want to take a look at this briefly.
Okay.
What's going on here if black takes that rook?
You know, I'll be very frank with you. The reason I'm accusing myself, and thank you for the follow, Scott the Ancient. That's very nice of you. Thank you. I've been accused myself of playing needless sacrifices many times on my best losses, including quite a few against you, Anna. So I would probably, I think that would have been the next move after I have moved this. And then there is also, if knight goes on b6, there is a strong move like queen f2 or something like that to get rid of it. Okay, but this is interesting variation. Okay, so, okay, I'm black here, right?
After bishop takes d1, no, it's white.
Oh, I'm white here. Okay.
What would you do here? Yes. And Caitlin, yes, we are analyzing a position. I'm making Nikola sweat. That's the purpose of this show.
Very successfully.
asking him questions about critical positions in a game that was played between two grandmasters. In this way, I'm always testing what would Nikola come up with as a follow-up, what would be the plan, what would be the idea he goes for. And here, this is another critical position. So, Nikola, your thoughts on this
Okay.
moment?
All right. So what happens? What are my options here?
Mm-hmm.
I can take the rook.
Yes,
I can take the bishop.
very good. Those are the two main candidate moves.
Yes. If I take the bishop,
Uh-huh.
things become really interesting
Mm-hmm.
because black has this. And then if I take this, I'm going to get mated here.
Yes, I didn't realize actually when you said taking the bishop, you meant mainly knight takes e7. So you're not even considering taking the other bishop
Yeah, I'm
or both
I'm
bishops.
I'm basically joking.
Okay.
No worries.
No, I mean that's a
Uh,
valid move. I was just curious if you would
no,
ever
it's not.
consider taking the other one
It's funny. Well, here is a basic thing. Taking this bishop becomes a legitimate option after this bishop is taken,
Uh-huh.
because then you have
True.
this rather
Yes.
crashing here.
Hmm.
I don't need to rush to take this because
Mm-hmm.
this knight is a monster.
Mm-hmm.
So I think blitz or bullet game here is this.
Very good.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So you don't mind that white is an exchange down at the moment, and you
I
are not in a hurry to take that rook on c7, if it even if it goes away now, because black will have the chance to take it to
I
somewhere
think
else.
I think at this point everybody is in here is familiar with my style to know the answer to that question. I'm not counting pawns or exchanges. This is a very comfortable position for white, and it's you know this rook is pickled. This bishop,
Mm-hmm.
if taken, follow up with queen d6 is crushing.
Yes.
Uh, this bishop can hop here, in which case it becomes even more difficult. And what exactly is black going to do in this position? This bishop cannot go anywhere. Actually, it can go to d8. It's a very tough defensive position for black. But if
Yeah.
I can't castle. I mean, I can castle, but then I'm losing the bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Knight cannot move because it's basically dominated by this. It can go on c5. Okay, so here's the question. What is the best move for black in this position?
What would you consider as
Yeah, uh,
the
let's be
best defense?
let's be serious. So it can play rook c6,
Mm-hmm.
which defends this pawn.
So after knight takes e7, king takes, there's no queen d6.
Correct. So that's one option.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, bishop d8 is less appealing.
Why is it less appealing?
Well, we got ourselves in a pretty big mess in exchange for an exchange. So bishop d8 would relinquish that.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention that there are other tactical motives here. And very frankly, please, Anna, don't tell me that endgame after takes with a queen is and takes there. Well, he would take with a bishop, but
Knight takes, and the endgame. Yeah, you can always go for the endgame, of course.
that this particular endgame is one for white. Sorry.
What if I tell you though that it's -1 for black?
I would not believe you.
No, this is winning for white. We can always take the rook, so that's
Yeah.
one of the possibilities. Or you can keep going with moves like bishop f4.
Yes.
There's a lot of possibilities here that are
Yeah.
just
Bishop
very
f4
tempting.
is obvious. Even bishop h3 is obvious, and black doesn't have any counterplay here.
Hmm. Yeah. So if a move like that's rook c6 was the one you mentioned. I'm just curious, how would you continue the attack here, and then we go back to the game continuation.
Or game continuation was something different.
Yes, 95 was not played by white, which I think would have been a killer move. Like if looking at this position, exchange up for black, but it's got to be lost.
What? How about if I tell you that I'm making a move that you would like?
Okay, which one?
Well, you're a pawn grabber, right? So I can
I
take
am.
I can take a b4 pawn.
Hmm.
I'm not
What
saying
if?
that. I'm not saying that's a best move in the position, but that's actually a perfectly legitimate move.
Very true. Yeah, very true. I think I would consider that move, but I'm gonna ask you to play in your style, and what would that look like? What moves are you considering if it's just go for the attack?
Okay. No, no, no. I'm joking. But for the record, position after this is winning for white.
Possibly, yes.
Okay. All right. So. Um, yeah, bishop h3 is one option. I think the move that I would play is e5.
What's the idea behind e5?
Well, after if I play e5 and I'm actually gonna move it,
Uh-huh.
um, I'm threatening this particular thing, and if black takes with either, I take on e7 and I get this rook is, I'm basically activating this bishop.
Yeah.
I think that looks like the best move in the position, or if we're talking about Nikola's style.
It is Nikola's style and it's a killer move. I think it's
Yeah,
curtains for black.
yeah, okay.
So this could have been one of the ways in which the game possibly would have ended. Oh, sorry, I'm jumped back to the wrong moment.
No,
So
no,
after
please.
h4, bishop g4, white could have played 95. We can argue that black is not forced to take on d1, but if black doesn't even take the exchange, then what does black have? um, it's just a very sad position. It's got to be decisive advantage for white, winning position. 95 was not played, but instead white went for rook f1, rook d2 f1 in the game. It's still, of course, winning advantage, but 95 was even stronger. Now
Okay,
knight e5. It ended here that white played 95 a move later,
okay,
and after rook b7. I'm just playing at these moves because there are other alternatives too, and we have been looking at this 95 idea in the previous position. But now I'm curious again, how would you continue from this position? So we have a beautiful knight on d5, the rook on, the f file is very active. But what's next? The king is still in the middle of the board, and we need to come up with something.
okay. Can I just make one observation? Having the rook on d1 is worth an exchange in this situation, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. All right, so all right, so let me make a bullet move.
Yes, I'm curious.
Actually, I don't have. This is okay. this is one of those bullet situations when I'm making a move, although I know it's not good.
Tell me about it. I'm so
Because
curious now.
you have to make a move in a bullet, so I'm probably playing something along the lines of bishop f4.
Uh-huh. Well, why do you think it's not good? Or you mean that you would probably try to find something even better if you had the time?
Yeah, it's kind of okay. Unfortunately, Simple Swindling put a move that I really now like, and now I saw it, now I can't unsee it. But
Sure.
he is recommending rook on f5,
Uh-huh.
which
I
is
thought that would be a very Nikola move.
that's a move very much in my taste. I didn't see it though, so we can't really recommend that. But yes, that's a very Nikola move.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we can get rid of this pawn, this bishop is a monster. It can hit this rook,
Yeah.
can hit come here, and so on and so forth. All right, but I didn't play it, so I cannot do that. So this is one candidate move.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Here's a funny thing. Black can actually castle in this position.
Yes, black and steel castle. Important to remember.
Yeah, and that's actually, I mean, it's not a good move because this pawn dies, but it's a possible move.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me think for a second. We really, I mean, I can go pawn grabbing and take on e7, and then
Mm-hmm.
will black dare to take with a king?
Hmm.
But
Good question.
that's not very appealing. All right, so the candidate moves are really the simply swindling move rook f5, which I would have probably seen in a rapid game, and bishop f4. The idea here is to double the rook and attack this. And do I benefit if this knight and this bishop disappeared?
So you're thinking bishop f4, and is it for taking on e5? What would that
Correct.
trade mean?
Okay. Um, okay, can I be funny? There is one more move that's worth a candidacy. It's this.
I was curious if you will list it. I was waiting for it. I
Yeah.
don't know how good it is, but I thought that you would consider it.
Yeah. You know, and if I'm really going after this particular knight, is it better to go here or to go here?
Good point.
This is probably the toughest situation that because there are too many 70% candidate moves here, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure what I prefer.
So in a game, you would like it's really, as you said, many of these will be good moves, and there's a tiny difference between them, perhaps in
Yeah.
evaluation. So, what would be your personal preference?
Well, you know, I hate to put a move that I didn't see myself, but you know, let's give credit to simply swindling and say that we're gonna play this.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the strongest moves, but also bishop f4 and bishop d4 makes sense, and to compare which one
Sure.
is more useful for the bishop placement. In the game, bishop d4 was played,
Yeah.
so we're gonna see that soon.
Yeah.
But rook f5 is a beautiful move, and if this is taken, so if the exchange is accepted, that just opens up the long diagonal. These pawns are ready to march to f6,
Uh,
g6.
if I'm black, I'm actually not taking that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
I'm
this
not
is.
taking it. No, no, no way. Because if I take it, I am immediately dead.
Mm, yeah, I fully agree.
What am I doing here, though?
Not easy to make moves for black.
Bullet game, I'm castling.
Mm-hmm.
And forget about rook on d6. Because I may even get some counterplay and I can always take that rook eventually.
Yeah, so cost at least to finish development.
Yeah. And the more I look at it, the more I like it.
Yeah, I think castling kingside does give some practical chances to black. It's not like black is completely lost.
No.
Should be a decisive advantage for white, but we still need to find the best moves and the best way
Sure.
to execute the attack. But rook f5 for sure is a really strong move in the game. uh, Bishop d4 was played, and
Okay.
it was a good point by I think one way my way mentioned Bishop d4 to keep the file open. I think that's the reasoning of
Yeah. No.
Boris Tech here.
Yeah. That's exactly right, and that makes perfect sense.
But yeah, Bishop f4 and Rook f5, they all made a lot of sense. Black finally castled kingside on move 24.
Yay!
We need to applaud this achievement.
Poor Yannick.
Yeah, I'm telling you, don't mention this game to him if you see him next time on Twitch. What's next? What do we do here as white? It's a question to the viewers as well before you think that I'm not making you work as well. You're just listening to Nikola solving it. No, no, no. Everybody's got to work here.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. So black has castled, and well, funny thing is, rook f5 works again,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea is to uh, take the knight and then take the pawn with the bishop.
Uh-huh. So you would want to sacrifice the exchange there.
Yeah. So that's one option.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, this bishop becomes a monster.
Yeah.
And the threat is actually nothing direct. It's literally, the threat is this.
Mm-hmm.
And how does black defend it is actually difficult to see. If he takes the knight elsewhere, like knight c6, there is a motive of pushing a g6.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what else is there? There is also motive of actually. I can't take on g7, can I? No. All right, so let's look at the sequence. Oops. So I play this. What does black play?
Good question. Because taking seems to be just really
Taking is curtains in a very I mean, there's just too many threats. That's not.
yeah. And otherwise you want to take on e5 too, so you're insisting on that exchange sacrifice.
Okay, so let's play this. Actually, I'm actually gonna move it because I'm playing it.
Yes.
Taking is really, I'm not taking as a black.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I have, but what do I do here? I have knight f. Ooh, oof, 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 oof. It's ugly. I didn't even see this. Ouch.
Yeah, more and more problems.
Yeah, what the. Yeah, so. Youch. Um, so I can't really take this.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't. Where can that poor queen go? So can go here. And where if I mean. Then I can take. And actually, I don't even need to take.
So after rook f5, you're considering for black the move queen to d8.
I don't see a better move, to be honest with you, Anna.
Yeah, it's just a very sad position, so I'm not surprised that you don't see a better move. Yeah, the question is there anything concrete there, or will we just continue improving the position with moves like rook h f1, which also makes perfect sense. It seems that this position, whether there's something concrete directly or we keep building up the position, both make sense because bishop takes f5 is never an option.
No. And incidentally, I lose these positions because I don't. This is the type of position where I lose the thread.
You think so?
Yeah.
Then let's make some more moves.
Yeah. No. I'm serious.
Sure.
So what do I do here?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's play this. Well, I mean, the motive I went for was that I want to take the knight here, right? And then take with a bishop.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's something you would play here? Or
I would probably. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, Anna. I'm just.
No. I was just thinking out loud that if you would go for it.
I don't see what black can do to disentangle himself here. To be quite frank with you. So, hey, Henrik DZ, there you go. So, I can just play this.
Yeah. That's a great point. Sorry, and now I came in to just highlight what you were saying, that you probably want to play rook takes c5 to go for something concrete, but it's a position where black has no counterplay, a terrible piece placement. The pieces are just like thrown all over the board. There's no harmony, there's no plan going on, there's nothing good about black's position. So there's no hurry in hitting black's position right now because we can keep building it up with natural moves, and black has no way of improving it.
Sure. And now I have concrete threats. Now that the rooks are doubled, I can actually, take. I can play knight f6, and I can take on e5. There are lots of concrete threats in this position, and I'm not gonna say this, but it's almost like black is in a zugzwang here.
Yes, crazy to think with so many pieces on the board, but it does look like almost a zugzwang position.
Yeah, what is black playing? A5?
Maybe. And even then, it's like you can give black a few more moves and it's still not causing any trouble for white. And as you said, white can always calculate the
Yeah.
concrete lines, taking on e5 or knight f6. There's got to be a lot of winning moves here. So the rook f5 would be one of the strongest moves. So well done on that.
Okay.
After castle kingside, and I saw in the chat another move that was mentioned. Um,
Jesse, thank you for the follow. Thank you and for the subscription. Sorry, Anna.
yes, yeah, I also wanted to go shout out for that because subscribers always deserve that.
Jesse is a dear friend of mine, and
Hmm.
we have worked together on various streams many times. I'm actually going to give the man a diamond because it's very good to see him. We haven't seen each other for some time, and this is the first time he came to. Oh, did I manage to? So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing, Chess. If this is the first stream you're catching in a while, and welcome to the show. This is on how to make Nikola sweat as much as possible with difficult chess questions show.
All right. Sorry, Anna. Thanks. Thank you, Jesse. Good to see you here. All right. So
Rook
so
f5 is
we
one of the
decided we're going to
moves.
play Rook f5 here,
Yeah,
right?
and it's a perfectly strong and winning move. As you said, you can then double rooks. The position is a nightmare for black. And another winning move was mentioned in the chat, so I just want you to calculate that too a little bit. And that was knight f6. I saw it in the chat by one of you, so
Ah,
congratulations.
okay. All right. So knight f6. Obviously, black should not take.
Hmm.
Actually,
Because if black takes, let's see, g takes.
all right. So take g. Oh, okay. G takes. The takes, and now what? Hmm. All right. So that's one option. So well, obviously, if the bishop moves, this is a very quick mate. Actually,
Hmm.
is it? It is. Uh,
Yes, and you're saying because there's no knight g6.
because of this knight being very nicely placed for white and undefended.
Yeah, but it's also, let's take into account that we are talking about the bishop move. So if after the capture on
Yeah.
f6, let's calculate it move by move.
Okay. So this is obviously a natural sequence,
Mm-hmm.
um, but black doesn't necessarily need to, capture the bishop.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what are the black options? What is the best option for black here?
If black were to move the bishop, I'm curious, how's the mate? Tell us about it. Bishop d8.
Oh, bishop d8, the defends the queen.
Uh-huh. But it
No,
doesn't mean that black survives. I'm just asking.
well, okay, so if I do queen h6, how does he defend mate on g7?
Good question. What's the only way for black to defend?
Yeah, so
Um,
bishop d8,
yes.
and then we do this,
Mm-hmm.
and is there a defense? I guess black needs to take the bishop,
Yeah, it has to give back the piece. But
and
in that case,
we take, and then we have the threat of queen g5. Yeah, you're saying this.
yeah, a completely winning position for white.
Yeah, and then I can take the knight and queen g6 is mate.
Mm-hmm.
So you're thinking something along these lines?
Yeah, it's gonna be mate as you mentioned. That bishop on d4 is a monster.
Yeah, and that's the advantage of having a bishop on d4 as opposed to f4.
Yes. Yeah, now we start understanding more. And also the f5 was open for the rook
Okay.
to come into f5 or f6 in this variation.
Oh, and our video is yet again frozen,
Oh,
which
what? Why
is
is it?
which is annoying.
I wonder why does that happen? Because on Zoom, I don't see us
No,
frozen.
we're not frozen. It's the yeah, it's the Streamlabs. Thank you, Hazelot. Thanks for the hmm. All right, I'm
Hmm.
gonna have to work on this setup because this is now second time it happened on this stream. All right.
Yeah, I I am also using Streamlabs and I'm considering switching back to OBS because it's also giving me headaches. I don't know why these issues happen. It seems to
Okay.
be um, something with the
Yeah,
software sometimes.
and honestly, I started having trouble. Thank you, Hazelot. We do look. Okay. If it happens to Robert Hess, I'm glad we both look very good frozen. Thank you.
Oh, great. It also happened to Robert. I didn't
Yeah, and
realize.
I think it started happening when I updated Zoom.
Oh, huh.
So it might be all right. Okay, let me try to fix it real quick.
Sure,
So
sure.
I'm gonna take this source and and I'm gonna re-add it and let's see what happens. Just
Hmm.
bear with me, Anna, for a
Yeah.
second.
I'm just gonna ask the viewers in the meantime if they saw
Yes,
any
if
of
you
this
would.
coming. So knight f6, hands up in the chat if knight f6 was one of your candidate moves or rook f5. I'm curious how many of you were going to go for those piece sacrifices or something more positional because a reminder, there are many good moves in this position, but quite possibly knight f6 is the most straightforward and crushing.
Hmm. Okay. Anna, do you mind if we do? You can talk, but do you mind? Do you guys mind? Give us 30 seconds. Let me redo Zoom. Let's redo a Zoom call again.
Sure, yes, I'm gonna join you again. So
Yeah,
if you close
I'm
this one,
gonna
I'll
end
join back.
this because yeah. All right. Okay. Sorry, guys. It's just okay. And Anna is gonna join me. It should be the same meeting. Okay. All right. Let's see whether that solves the problem. All right. Anna is here. We are joining again. Thank you, Levi Caloran. Thank you for hosting the stream. Yeah, thanks. And Anna is here. We're
Hello,
gonna.
everyone, again.
Hi guys. Sorry, we are gonna have to work on this. And let's see if that solves the problem. No, there you go. Okay, so just give me guys 2 seconds to fix this.
And
And
Chess Spaghetti, thank you for gifting us up to Henry. Thank you so much for the support.
Jesse, it's always good to see you, my friend. Okay, so let me add Anna first. All right, so was this the game continuation, Anna?
Well, you know the answer, Nikola.
Yeah, I know the answer.
This would have been the strongest, but wasn't played. So this proves again that Nikola and you guys in the chat can find stronger moves than a grandmaster. These were not played. Neither knight f6 nor rook f5 nor knight d5 in the earlier position. So all those tactical possibilities were not played by white. In the game after castle kingside, black took a more positional white took a more positional approach, taking on e5 first, eliminating that knight, and then playing bishop h3. After this trade, we can see that white has achieved a strategically very appealing position. It's a good knight versus bad bishop theme, but it's not as good as the mate in 3. So I'm just saying, knight f6 was crushing. This is a winning position for white for many strategic reasons, but um, knight f6 was missed. Funnily enough, though, after all these strategic moves, white ended up playing knight f6 later. So here, after rook takes h3, queen c5, it was eventually played in the game as well. But I'm gonna wait for Nikola to join me because I don't want him to
I,
miss
I'm
this.
I'm listening. I'm here. So
Sure, sure.
yes. Okay. We are not frozen anymore, which is good.
Oh, and Hatchog is saying that it happened both for Alex and Robert. Um, oh, or it was Robert's camera, but yeah, it must be something with
It must be
Streamlabs or
Zoom
Zoom.
because
Hmm.
restarting Zoom fixes the problem. So,
Hmm.
all right. Well, we'll figure that out. I'm tempted to actually install the both.
Hmm.
Yeah, it must be a newer thing. Okay, so what did they play? He ended up playing knight f6 here.
Yes, finally, Knight F6 happened in the game. And Caitlin, don't worry if you're not winning games. I'm promising to my non-chess viewers too that I'm gonna make some beginner lessons and I'm gonna train you guys so that you can win at chess if you are just starting out. Because this is for an advanced level. Nikola is a strong player already, so it's gonna be difficult for those of you just starting out with chess to learn from these lessons, but for club players, advanced level players, and above that, I think there's a lot to learn from these positions. Knight f6 finally happened in the game.
Well, I'm not
It-
taking that knight, right?
yeah, it's a very sad position because if black doesn't take well king h8,
Uh,
how would you continue here, Nicola?
okay. Um, what am I doing? Okay, I can. Good question, actually. Um, I mean, I can just take on h5 and call it a day, and I have two extra pawns, and I'm winning.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Uh,
one of the winning moves here.
yes, and that's a bullet move.
Hmm.
Without any doubt, I can take on. I can play knight d7,
Hmm.
and I am up in exchange. Um, I can. Oh, here's a good question, and that's probably the critical move. If I play something like king e2 threatening, and then black plays this, what do I do?
Hmm.
I can take, takes, queen h5. Uh, what does he do? Queen h6, g6, and I'm winning.
Do you want to play out those moves that you have just calculated?
Yeah, let's do that. All right, so I played this,
Yeah.
this, 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 and then what does the black move play? He plays this, I'm playing this,
Mm-hmm.
here, here, and that's should be winning, right? Or maybe I am exaggerating. Interesting.
I think it's always one good thing about positions like this that you go for the sacrifice, but in worst of cases, you always have a perpetual. But do you think that um, this has to be winning for white, or what does your intuition say without further calculation?
I mean, okay. Uh, the tricky part is that this rook is actually what I was calculating when I was calculating was that I'm going to play this.
Uh huh.
And then what does the black play? There is a motive here that he can take here if play something like this. And then if I take on f7, he can take here.
Yeah.
But
But does rook f7 prevent all the ideas?
no. I can, let's see here. Let me actually move this. All right, so rook f7. And what is the idea I still have? I still have this. No.
let's go back to that one because
Yeah, I missed
I'm
something.
gonna I'm gonna I'm sure you would play that instantly if it wasn't after 2.5 hours into the
Okay.
stream. Um, oh, no, I mean the rook f7 position. Sorry,
Oh,
in that
okay.
moment,
Yeah. What am I missing? And I'm missing something stupid as usual.
it's
Oh,
not as usual. Really, it's just the fact that we've already been
oh
on the
duh.
stream for a long
Sorry.
time. Yeah,
Yeah, of course. Okay.
no worries about that. Good night, Caitlin. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
okay.
tuning in.
So basically, the original instinct was correct. This has to be winning.
Yes, and the other moment after king, so when you push g6, all those moves are the best. And
Okay.
so rook g1 is very strong, and you can also do it, I think, as some of you suggested, that it's a mating net, but also with checks it was possible. F takes g6, queen takes, king h8,
Okay.
and after king h8, how do you get to the mate
Oh,
with
duh.
checks?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, exactly. I was thinking you probably were looking at rook g1, but the queen is covering the g1 square. Well, luckily we have the other rook too to come to the g file. We have two.
I played a game on one of those Anamaya, on one of those sub battles against Anamaya, and I missed like. Granted, I have about 6 seconds left, and it was without increment. So I
Hmm.
missed something like 4 mates in one in succession. I mean, I won the game, but it was anyway. Yeah. Okay. So what was
The
okay?
game continuation. Yeah, let's see how Pelletier tried to survive. Chesty, thank you so much for the kind words. I'm happy to hear if you guys feel like you're learning something, not just Nikola, uh, because I'm gonna make all of you work, but especially Nikola. So
Sure.
in the game, in the game. Oh, I'm jumping back to the wrong knight f6. Apologies. I'm always bad at finding the right moment to jump back to. Did I promote it? That's always the question. Oh yes, I finally promoted it. So actually it was the main line. Trades, knight f6, and in the game black took with the bishop, g takes f6, and rook
Oof.
c8. How to continue?
Okay. Hmm. Okay. That was the game continuation, right?
Yes, yeah, we are just a few moves away from the very end.
Okay. So what do I do here? I can play bullet move is top g rook g3.
Uh huh.
Um, and frankly, I don't see a better move. Thinking a bit longer.
Yes, that's a very strong move and was played in the game too.
Okay. So
Rook
okay,
g3, threatening rook g7, so black played g6.
and I can be obnoxious bastard and tell him you can check me as much as you want on c2, but there is no mate.
Very good point. So your move would be
Queen
queen
h6,
h6.
and it's queen f8.
Yeah, because if queen takes c2, as you said, it's only one check. After king a1, there's no follow-up and no
Yeah,
defense against the mate.
yeah. I'm
So queen
actually
f8.
yeah. It's actually an interesting position because this and that's it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but he has this annoying defense here.
Yeah. So
Okay.
what do we do here?
All right. The question real here is, can we take on g6?
Mm-hmm. Let's calculate it.
Okay. I mean, obviously, I can do pawn grabbing. I can just take this, but
Yeah.
that's not what we are doing. That's kind of All right, so if I take on g6 and he has to take, okay, then I can take here.
And what happens then?
He has to go to h8.
Mm-hmm.
And where is the mate here?
Good question. We've given up a rook, so there better be a mate.
Yep. So I cannot give I can give a check on h5. And the only move he has is g7. Right. And where is the mate? He can play on g7, and there must be a mate here somewhere. Actually, okay, so here, there. I already took on h5. And pawn is on f7, queen is on f8, and he has to play queen g7. So where is the mate here? The mate is this is where I get annoyed with myself. I'm missing something.
There may not be mate, so your line, once again, move by move, so that everyone can follow, is.
All right, the line. I'm gonna. Oops, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So this, this, back, and
Is that the only move for black? King
and
G8.
I missed it. Okay. Here, right?
Yes, after queen h5.
It can take
So
here.
if king g8, we have rook g1, correct. But is king g8 the only move? Rook h7 is another move.
And what do I do here? And I'm not mating him, or am I missing something again?
Nope, rook h7 is a defense, so we don't want to allow this.
Nope.
What can we do earlier on to not allow this defense?
All right, so we are still doing this, right?
Yeah, we would like to make this work. The rook sacrifice.
Okay, so he is doing this.
Uh-huh.
So the option that I actually thought of and I didn't play was to do this.
Mm-hmm. And the idea is?
The idea is that we then played rook f5, and that's the mate, and he can't take.
Yeah, we are threatening rook f5. Also, in case of queen h5, now there will be no rook coming to the h5, so we are cutting that rook away from the defense. And that pawn on itself is also a big threat, because if the queen moves away from f8, we will be threatening promotion as well. Very good. This is a winning position. We can show after, for instance, a move like queen g7.
Yeah.
How do you continue? Mm-hmm.
And did I manage to mess this up?
I don't know. Let's think.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, I have, haven't I? Yeah, this is again when I'm missing mates in one. Hold on.
They may not be made, but in that position, for instance, let's suppose you reach this position after king g7. Black is threatening to trade queens, and the rook is hanging. What would you do if this is your game?
If this is the position,
Yeah.
okay. Hmm. I mean, I'm winning if I exchange the queens.
So you can go for a rook endgame,
I
indeed.
can do that. I also have. I also can ask him what's he gonna do if I play something like this, right?
Mm-hmm. To keep the queens on the board, indeed.
Yeah,
Because the king is still extremely weak, so you can do both,
I
either
can
a
do
rook
that.
endgame or this.
I don't see a crushing move.
There is no crushing move. I was curious if you would go for the endgame or you would keep the queen.
Yeah, I think if I am, if I do this, this, I have two extra pawns. I'm gonna easily gonna win this.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
just play h5 and then create a passed pawn, follow it the king. This king has no way of getting to the queen side. It's just push and baby all the way.
yeah. It
So
it is a simple endgame indeed.
okay,
And also the queen move, defending the rook. Both are. It's once again more of a question of style and
yeah,
uh, which one are you more sure of. I think a lot of times uh, people try to find like the objectively best move, but we are not looking for the best move engine wise. We are looking for the move that's the most comfortable for you. Like, are you confident in the end game, or are you confident that you're gonna give mate in that queen and rook end game?
yeah. I can even play something like this and then transpose into a pawn ending.
Also, this
And
this is actually the most forcing.
that's probably the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, I was curious if you will spot the tactical motive.
Yeah,
Very good,
yeah. Okay.
very good. But I didn't expect you to have to calculate the two after 2.5 hours of already
No, that's
being
fine.
into this.
That's fine. That's fine. And that any tournament that I'm gonna play is gonna feature very long games. I should be able to calculate this.
Awesome. But as
Okay.
as you said, the other moves are winning too, so I wasn't gonna force that. But the king and pawn game is the easiest, yes.
So what was played in the actual Grandmaster? What did Yannick actually end up playing?
Yannick played Queen of Fate, but his opponent, do you think he sacrificed the rook?
I think the guy is positional. I don't think he did. He took on h5 with a knight.
Yeah, so in that position we already traded and he took the pawn indeed. Yes, let me go back there. You guessed it correctly. He's a very strong grandmaster, but it shows the playing style that he just goes for the simple, um, obviously good move, pawn up. The position is
Sure.
still extremely um, superior for white. I'm trying to go back to the right moment. Sorry, I'm mm, always confused in this analysis board about where are the moves we are looking at. This move and
Yes.
then bishop takes. I'm gonna promote it. It's my fault again. This is why John was telling me always promote it because I cannot go back when I want
Oh,
to.
this was actually
Yeah.
played in the game?
It was played, yeah, and queen takes h5 as you mentioned.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That was played. So rook takes g6 was winning. Queen takes h5 is also winning because it picks up a pawn. This is hanging to. This is still an option, but yes, this is the more positional way of playing. After rook c6, white also took on e5. I'm just gonna play at the last few moves because there weren't really any more fireworks except for the fact that after rook b5, queen f4, rook h5, um, white just went for the very pragmatic rook g5 again, so white
Sure.
is a couple of pawns up. The queen on f8 is stuck to the defense of the king. Issues always on the dark squares, back rank, the h file if now black takes on g5. Um, so like obviously this is curtains.
Yeah.
So white, black tries to at least not allow that. But now after rook h6, what would be your way of continuing? And this is the final task in this game.
This was played?
This was finally played.
Okay, so hmm.
Once again, we are not looking for fireworks. This was just a very practical way of finishing the game, I think. I mean, it's strong, but it's not a rook sacrifice we are searching for.
No, no, I understand. Uh, okay, I think this is a natural move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to
Yeah,
open up the
I
queen
think
side.
that's, I can even say that that's the move.
Yeah, and that was played h5. If this is taken, that's a disaster with queen g5 check and the g and h5. That's gonna be mate in a few moves.
Yeah, that's curtains.
Yeah.
Uh,
So after h5, black didn't take. Yeah, I was curious actually if you would take on h5 or would you play something else. I think rook h1 is even stronger. Yes, because you don't even allow queen h6 as a defense.
yeah, it's over.
Very good.
Yeah, okay. Interesting game. I this is just gonna be a statement of fact. One thing I liked about our game last time
Uh huh.
was that black had counterplay.
Yeah, this one
This
was.
one was, yeah. Don't worry, I won't mention to Yannick when next time we collaborate about this game. I won't mention it to him.
Yeah,
This, yeah,
I think I also prefer the other one for the fact that you had to be more careful about your choice because here, um, depending on your playing style, you could go for something more straightforward like knight f6 check in that position where we were analyzing the sacrifice immediately, or what Borishek went for was also fine, the more strategic, more positional approach, so to say. But yeah, it's just such a sad position for black, and I wonder. That makes me wonder. I don't know if you will have the time to to look at this from a theoretical point of view, but it really makes me wonder. Is this line really so strong for white, or what is it that goes wrong for black in this position? If you want to look it up from a theoretical point of view, because this looks extremely promising for white, in my opinion.
yeah. Hey Zahim, thank you for the follow, and it's good to see you, my friend. And Nolo Moses Nemanachemo, thank you. That's you. You are welcome in Serbian. And I'm
Mm.
very, I grew up when Slovenia and Serbia were part of the same country, so I'm
Hmm.
always very happy to see a Slovenian grandmaster or Macedonian or Montenegrin or Croat, win. So thank you, Anna, for that. Uh,
You're very welcome. And both of them are very nice people. I know both of them personally,
sure.
Jure Borishek and Yannick Pelletier. Uh, just really humble grandmasters, down to earth.
Yeah.
Would never brag about wins like this or hide it. I'm sure that the Yannick wouldn't even mind showing what went wrong. But what do you think of in hindsight? What is it? This B4 was where we stopped on move
Before
16.
was I hate this is gonna come across as a tad arrogant, and I'm it's a that B4 basically. I understand why it was played, because, and for the record, White had to deal with this bad knight on
Mm-hmm.
E2 for the rest of the
Yeah.
game, but B4 basically stops black attack,
Mm-hmm.
because what basically happens is that then, queen a5, queen b1, and there is nothing there. This a6 is the best defender that White can have.
Yeah.
And moving a5, a4 is way too slow. And even
Mm-hmm.
then, White has an option on taking with c pawn on b3 after king b1, and then
Mm-hmm.
and if a2 pawn is then defended by any of the pieces, it's a very solid defense. I would play this position as White quite happily,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So
Yes, I think you summed that up very well. Funnily enough, as you mentioned that night, remember the one position where we thought that white should be okay, but it was indeed this e2 knight and g2 bishop that were making white's position not as good as it seemed it would be. Remember that
yes,
variation that we looked at?
yes, I remember that's the one with an exchange on d6,
Uh-huh.
and Yeah, it was. Yeah. Actually,
Actually,
no. That was the
yeah. Let
one
me,
where we played
in
f5.
in the F5 line, I was thinking that I cannot go there with
Yeah,
these,
it's
but
that. Yeah.
here G5.
Yep.
Um,
And with the here we
but
played g6.
yes, we were analyzing F6 too, but that
We decided
unfortunately
that
wasn't
g6
as
is
strong.
better.
And after G6 takes knight F6, Bishop G5, Bishop C6, and here this is. I think this was one of the most instructive moments,
Yes.
in a sense that this is so shocking. I
Yeah.
think because I would have expected compensation for the pawn, but not an almost over 1 point advantage for black.
Yeah. No, that was. I judged this to be a winning endgame for white, to be honest with you, which
Hmm.
is hopelessly optimistic and
Hmm.
very wrong. And it's what's very funny is that white needs a couple of tempi to actually be better in this position. If he has
Yes.
time to play c4
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and rook f1,
Mm-hmm.
uh, then white is you know what? I'm gonna actually play this a little bit, and
Sure.
I'm actually gonna curious to see uh, what would be the evaluation of the same position with just c4 and rook f1 played.
Yeah. Let me check on that since we still have some time and we have finished with the game.
Sure,
We could take more. We could get into that position. I think this is a very instructive one. So
I agree.
let's trick the system then, and we could waste some
Hey
tempi.
Leonard, thank you for the follow. Very greatly appreciated. Welcome to Nikola Runs Chess with Anna Rudolf. Or Nikola misevaluates positions with Rudolf.
I also misevaluated it. I think you don't need to feel bad about this
Okay.
because it's a tricky one. But I'm curious about what you're saying. And if we waste some tempi for black, we could figure out that position. So let me go back to that also in my analysis. And I'm going to turn on the engine and see how it changes. But I'm not going to be updating you. I'm just curious
No.
what we achieve. Um, I'm just going to find it in my analysis real quick. And let's try to
Oh, thank you,
waste some
Julian.
moves.
That's that's very nice of you. And Dirkia, thank you for joining us. Good night, my friend. Have a good night's sleep. That's very
Good
greatly
night, Dirkie, and
appreciated.
thank you so much, Julian, for the
Thank you.
kind words.
Okay.
Just a moment. I'm trying to go back to the right moment.
And coming for somebody who is as strong as Julian, who is a FIDE master, and he's probably closer in strength to international master, that's really very, very nice to hear. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much, really. And thank you, everybody, for being so supportive of our brand new show. This is the second time that we are streaming with Nikola, and this is now every Wednesday that we're going to be back with Nikola Learns Chess.
Okay. So what does Stockfish have to say? And I'm also curious. I'm gonna do this as a homework and report back next time we see each other.
Uh-huh.
I'm also curious how would Leela judge this versus Stockfish.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not good at analyzing with Leela, so I'm gonna give that task to you because I'm
That's fine.
I'm just this traditional player that has Stockfish installed and I use my chess base. But I know that nowadays Leela is the real deal. So I'm curious what Leela thinks of these positions. Let's take a look at C4, and we're gonna try to waste time for black with
Okay. Okay.
something silly. Let's do it this way. C4, rook g8. It's obviously not what black would be doing, but I'm curious if it's correct what we were
Okay.
saying that after c4 and the rook coming to f1. Already now Stockfish says this is equal. So from over -1 evaluation for black,
Yeah.
if we waste just one move for black, it's already about equal according to the evaluation. And if we were to get another move, I'm guessing then it can easily turn into white's advantage. So if I were to I'm gonna lose one more tempo. This is gonna be, of
Here's
course,
a
a
good question.
disaster.
What's the best move for white here? Actually, it's actually curiously interesting.
If black loses 2 tempi.
Yeah.
A stockfish just a 0, 0, 0. I love those evaluations. It's like, what is zero about this? Someone will win this. That would be my bet. But
It's
yeah, maybe
inter-
objectively.
the thing is, um, hey Julian, yeah, well, 24-hour stream is not gonna happen. I'm a little bit, I'm too old and too slow. I would probably have to sleep for part of it. So, but I may do a 12-hour stream one of these days. So that actually may happen. So here's the thing. This knight is very stupid.
Yeah,
This
that's still a
bishop
problem.
is. So what do I do? What does one do here? Try to. The thing is, there's no way we can get the bishop to f5 where it would actually defend these two pawns and would be pretty good move.
Yeah.
To activate the knight, geez, it's like something along the lines of here to here. And then this pawn is, but I don't think we're losing this.
No. I think it's just now unclear after losing those tempi for black. But it's interesting how even after rook h8, it's very difficult to make this work for white eventually, because I guess it's once again what you said. It's gonna take a couple of moves for that knight to be improved, and it's not easy to activate the bishop from g2 without dropping the e4 pawn. So ideally, a bishop on f5. Now that would be that should be a winning position or better position
and how
for
are we
white.
defending pawn on g6?
Yeah, because rook h6 too is always an option for black. That's another thing that we bound to mention.
Yeah, we can do a3, but then he plays a5, and this knight is still stupid.
Yeah.
We can do this, this, and this.
Yeah, that would be an improvement for sure.
If I'm white, honestly, what do I do here, seriously?
Yeah, and that's with having in mind that we may not have time for everything if we look at moves like rook h6, which is an immediate threat to capture our pawn.
Sure. And then if he takes on g6, that rook becomes a monster, and this bishop will need protection.
Yeah.
All right, so what am I actually... Okay, I have an idea. Okay. So I'm white, I'm moving.
Yes.
I can't defend this thing. Or can I?
So
Hold on.
what would you do?
Well, I have two options. I have an option of bringing the king here, in which case the king defends this thing.
Yeah.
Then I can play bishop f1, something like this, and this, but that's like, we're talking 6 moves. If you give me 6 moves, I'll improve the position. I can't let this pawn fall, because if it does, I'm dead.
True.
All right.
But how can we defend it?
I have to play this. That's probably the only move, actually.
To defend the pawn, yeah.
So
then we can start with that actually, because we went to f1, so we could have gone to g1 directly. But in that case, we will need to think of what happens if black switches to this f-file ideas with rook f8, bishop g5.
And here is a real problem. If I get the king here, he can play bishop e7 and then bishop c5, and
Oh.
I'm not in a good.
Would you like to use your Echo Show?
Computer, stop. Sorry, I have a rogue Alexa in here. All right, so yeah. Then what am I doing? I almost have, and then he plays bishop c5.
Yeah. Although if it happens with this move order that the king is still not there, and the black
No, I
king is
can
on
do
e8, then we have rook e6.
I can do this, but then what happens if he plays this and I take, and then he goes here? Well, we can put the rook here. So that's not.
Yeah, we get out of it. I think it would be a threat, as you mentioned. If it wasn't a pin, then it could work for black.
Okay.
But even if black doesn't play bishop e7 directly, but let's say black plays first, how is it the best to do it for black? Rook f8, I'm thinking. Or whether if black has the time to go rook h5, rook g5, that's another maneuver to get to the pawn and create something on the g file.
Okay, but that gives me a tempo to play bishop f3.
True, and that prevents rook g5. So let's take a look at rook f8.
Okay.
And this is just like us analyzing. I have no idea what the evaluation of this is anymore.
So I'm gonna assume, so the threat is basically king e2, rook f2 at some point.
Yeah, and also I think if this bishop g5 is in the air, that will not help us with the king on e3. So even if we get the king to e3 and then we get the check, it's still unpleasant.
I'm kind of. All right, so what do I play here? That's really unpleasant. All right, so I'm gonna try, and not very much in my style. I'm gonna try passive defense. Okay.
Bishop h1. All right. So that prevents bishop g5.
Yeah.
It's and I would think this is unclear, but did you spot something that I'm missing now? Probably.
No, our cameras are frozen again.
Are they? Oh no.
Yeah, all right. So this is the first time it's happened in this stream, which is genuinely annoying.
I'm so sorry it keeps happening because like
yeah,
we
I apologize,
had to
guys.
lose time
It's
on
just,
that, and it's annoying. But it's not your fault at all. So it must be really frustrating that it keeps happening. It's not on your end. The call, we still see each other on the call.
Yeah, and actually I see. Yeah, we see each other and cameras work fine on the call. It's just that OBS is not working, and it's all right. So all right, let me fix it the way I fixed it before, real quick.
Sure.
And we can actually, you can comment and we can make moves. And then I promise you guys for the next stream, it's not. I'll fix this. All right. So let me end the call.
Yeah, and I'll come back again.
Yeah. And let me try. What's interesting is when this happens. All right. It might be my camera actually.
You think so?
All right. Let me end this. All right. And then I'm gonna rejoin Anna, and you guys just bear with me for 20 seconds. And I'm joining with the computer audio, and I'm gonna wait for Anna to join. And then we're going to reconnect the cameras. And
I am back. Hello.
guess what? I don't even need to change the it restored it the way it's supposed to be
Oh,
to
great!
so
Finally,
that's
something good.
yeah. Okay, good. So I didn't need to do. Anyway, thank you, Ellen Media. That's greatly appreciated. We'll figure this out. Okay, so I'm playing. I played Bishop H1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that makes sense because you are preventing Bishop G5, so I need to look for a different way of playing. Um, I guess even if Black goes for a simpler setup like King to E7 to kick out the Rook from D6, um, probably there's not gonna be anything concrete for Black, but it's more the fact that even with the extra pawn, so we have this protected pass pawn on C4, but we will not manage to do much about that pass pawn as long as Black has this strong blockade on C6.
Yeah.
So King E7, the Rook will come back. I'm expecting. I'm thinking also. I was just curious if after the Rook moves.
Hey, Murfinski, this we're analyzing a potential endgame that can came out in a game against Yannick Pelletier and Boris Shak. Boris Shak was white, and I assumed that this was a one end game, and it transpires that the engine says nope. Black is actually better.
So after King E7, we move the Rook back. Let's say, where shall the Rook go? Back to D3, for instance.
Yeah, that's a natural move.
It looks like a position that's still difficult for both, in a sense that now you have prevented the main threats of Black, so Black doesn't have anything concrete.
Yeah.
And White still has to solve the issues with the minor pieces. The E2 knight is still as passive as we said. The bishop on H1 is unlikely to end up on F5.
Yeah, the poor knight literally has not a single. It's literally its prospects are about and it's.
I didn't realize that it literally has no moves.
It literally has no moves.
Not usual for a knight that is on the central file.
Sure.
And not on the edge. Oh man, that really is sad.
Yeah. This bishop is but honestly, I think this bishop H1 solved all the immediate problems.
Yes. I don't think that this is that bad, but maybe it's still more comfortable for Black, even if it would be around equal, because it's White who has to watch out for those ideas. King E6 is possible, as you're saying. Yeah, the main question is for White. How can White improve that E2 knight somehow? It's gonna take forever.
And these bishops are, let me say this: if this bishop comes to C5,
yeah,
and then as soon as bishop comes to E7, so I guess I think we might be better off after King E7. Oh, King E7. Just play this, because now if White plays this, we can actually play this, or Rook F8, and the Rook is defended.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, the Rook wasn't doing anything on D3. You're right. We didn't have ideas of doubling rooks.
And then what does Black do? So yeah, and Hazelot is saying we want the Rook D3 on the knight, and then the plan is to play this, this, and this, and hope to survive. Because if you manage to get knight to D3 and say king on C2, we are actually in decent shape.
Yeah. Although in this position, if the rook is not on g1, then once again there are issues with the g6 pawn in case of rook
Yeah.
h6.
Hey Slayer 6776, thank you for the follow. That's very greatly appreciated. Okay, so
I think we could conclude this position as even if we lose those tempi for a while, that made it unclear the evaluation. In a practical game, I think it's still way easier for black to play now that we have looked into it in depth, because I didn't see any of these tactical elements, or not just tactical elements, but the fact that rook h6 is always in the air, bishop e7, bishop c5, the e4 pawn is an issue, the minor pieces of white are terrible. So all those factors make this position in a practical game, I think, a very good chance for black, even if it was close to an equal
and
evaluation.
yeah, and Henrik Dizzy just made a point which would actually be along this in my style. Our big problem is that this bishop is completely dominating this bishop.
Yeah.
So instead of going back to d3, here after king e7, do this.
Yeah, makes sense. We wish we could just force black take it, but even, yeah, actually it is forcing in a sense that the e5 pawn is hanging. So either
Yeah.
the black bishop goes back to f6 or has to take on d5 or rook h5.
Yeah, and all of a sudden we actually may even have time to play this, this, and this, in which case this bishop from a dull piece becomes a monster.
Yeah, no, this is way more promising than anything we ever looked at for white.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good
Thank
point
you,
there.
Henrik. Henrik, thank you. Good deal. But, well, it doesn't solve the problem in your pieces, but at least, either eliminates, and let me put it this way, 2 passed pawns.
Yeah.
Connected passed pawns. I'll take it over that hopeless mess.
True, very true.
That we looked. And if we buy time to bring the bishop to f5, we may survive. Okay. That's...
Yeah, that will lead us to the conclusion then bishop e7, black shouldn't really play if rook d5 comes anyway. Maybe then king e7, rook d5, and not take the rook, of course, just try to improve the position instead.
Okay.
But it's a very complex position, and there's so much more to it than what we thought first, because I thought too that I can take on d6 and just, pawn up.
Yeah, I blindly assumed that, the plan B is to take on d6, convert into this, and white should be winning, but no. All right. Well, guys, my apologies for the technical difficulties. Let's see. We can. I promised to raid Botez live to return the favor. Oh yes, you're live, Neil. Yes, I'll send the raid your way as soon as we are done. Thank you. Thanks, Hedgehog. That's very greatly appreciated. And thank you, Anna. This we never get to either play a game or this, but I think this was this was a very interesting game. It was. I'm just gonna make one comment about, because I'm pretty familiar with this opening. This knight de2 move is actually topical for Adams. And h5 is apparently en vogue against the top grandmasters. That I've seen lots of top players play this. I played this against Cecilia Cerno. I've quite a lot of players. They really do not want to allow g4. There are 2 ways to respond to that move. move option number one is to do what Boris Shak did, which is play g3 and continue playing Adam's attack. Okay.
Mhm.
Play number two is to basically tell to black, haha, I'm going to play bishop g5,
Hmm.
and you don't have h6 anymore.
Yes, a good point.
And the difference, believe it or not, it depends on when exactly black plays h5, because black can play h5 here,
Ah, I see.
in which case this is a really good move, and then you can go something like this and so on. And
Mhm.
then you really have a better variation of normal Sicilian.
Mhm.
If it happens like it happened in the game, that, in other words, if e5 is interposed and this, then I think g3, and then h5, then g3 is better.
Mhm.
If instead of e5, black plays e6, or plays h5 without e6, then bishop g5 is better. At least that's what I remember theory-wise. I'm not pretending that
I see.
I'm an authority on this.
Hmm. It's interesting to see those details and the move order, whether black goes h5 first or e5, and what are the
Yeah.
drawbacks of each.
Okay.
Thank you so much for those details. I'm learning a lot about these openings, and the more I look at your openings, the more I feel like, wow, these are great for attacking style players. Because also the Karakan you played against Anamaya, and that was another game I had prepared. But now I'm thinking I may replace it for the next session with another game, because in this game you pointed out that what uh, what made it a bit less instructive was the perspective that black didn't really have counterplay, so we could choose between 4 or 5 good options.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go back to getting something even more chaotic for next time.
Well, I was just about to say that I was thinking, great, now at least I know what Anna has in store, so I can prepare. Now I'm in trouble.
um, I
Uh,
think I will probably send it along. If I get to choose something in the Karakan, I will probably send that other one along too, just so that you can look at it. But it, or we can
okay.
show it as simply as a simple exercise. But I want to go back to more
Okay.
torture with more complex and counterplay positions.
Why did I open my big mouth?
Thank you for the feedback, Nicola. It always helps with the content and the preparation.
Uh, okay. Thank you, Anna. This was a great stream as always. Thank you all guys for being here. This was very instructive as always. And as always, chat is very in the chat has an elo of 3200.
Mhm.
I promised Neil that I'm gonna raid him, and let me see if I can, because last time I tried I had an issue.
Hmm.
And this concludes the Nikola Runs Chess at Wednesdays at 5 p.m. for this week. Looking forward to next week. I'm streaming tomorrow with one and only Mira Koridze. Hopefully we're going to figure that out. Jesse, thank you so much for gifting a sub to Murfinski. That's very greatly appreciated. And we're well over 200 subscribers, and we're reaching 1,000 followers, which is really nice.
That's amazing. Congratulations,
Thank you.
Nicola.
On 1,000 followers, there we're gonna do a sub simul, which I'm gonna probably get killed, and then we'll go from there. And we're gonna do hats tomorrow as well, so I'm gonna have some hats prepared. Thank you guys. I will talk to you soon. And it was and did the cameras did lock up again? I'm looking at the old message. Thank you, Anna, again. Good night, everyone. It's low. I know it's very late for you. Thank you so much. And let me see if I can raid Neil.
Thank you everyone for tuning in. And Nicola, you have done a great job with today's exercises too. And I know that uh, it's a lot of critical positions, and after 2.5 hours, even the simplest ones become difficult because of the amount of effort you've already put in. So thank you so much for working so hard
Okay.
and being so determined.
All right, and we are raiding Neil. Neil has supported. Neil's a 12-year-old streamer and chess player for India that has been very supportive of chess on Twitch, of very many streamers. He's a dear friend of mine, so please give him a look, give him a follow. He deserves it. He's great, and I'll be joining you shortly. Thank you, Anna, again, and we'll see you guys tomorrow and see you Anna next week. Looking forward to it already.
See you everyone and next Wednesday for the next show, and also good luck tomorrow, Nikola.
Thank you.